Well, um, the thing is, here's the thing, and I didn't quite get it until Microsoft, until we did that performance at Microsoft, where I had worked for, half a dozen years. And I was thinking for sure, you know, they'll at least talk with us, right? They weren't even interested in talking. What were we offering them? Collective superintelligence, the most powerful software ever created. It had yet to be created, but we were offering them the blueprints and the vision and everything that we'd been working on for years. They weren't even interested in talking with us, right? And I had been corporate strategy manager. It was my job to cook up strategy for these cats. They've got a market cap of $1 trillion. Well, before things started to decline a little bit ago with the corona, but they passed $1 trillion in cap. And anyway, we're just offering this for free, not charging anything. And anyway, after a month of that, it was just like, this is ridiculous. But it might be interesting to go back there. I wonder if they're going to shut down because of Corona, but it might be interesting to go back there. But what I learned was what you had been sharing for, years, Adam, which is that money is a poison. And I don't think I would have believed it until I'd seen it with my own eyes at the company where I'd worked so hard and, done so much cool work over the years. They're not even interested in talking, right? And it's not just money, it's ego, right? I mean, look, Les, if I showed up at your house in a Darth Vader costume and I was singing songs and I said, hey, Les, come on, wouldn't you at least come out and talk with me? Of course you would. They wouldn't even come out and talk. And I know Satya Nadella, the CEO, right? I tried to talk him off the ledge of launching Bing years ago, which was such a stupidity. And I even tried to bring him up to speed on the basics of marketing because Satya's an engineer. He doesn't know marketing. He thinks he does, but he really doesn't. Anyway.
Some people, though, did work interested and did come and talk to us. And they may have sent a representative that we didn't know.
No, that's for sure. I mean, I'm sure they sent spies to pick our brains and whatnot. I probably did that. I'm sure they did that on day one. In fact, I think I know who they were, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, you're $1 trillion company, and an ex-corporate strategy manager is out there protest. Well, it wasn't even protesting. We were inviting them, but we were doing it in such a way that got their attention. And it got the attention of all the employees, but upper management would not even give it a 5-minute meeting and say, what's this all about? You guys are obviously passionate about something. What is it? I think they were afraid of setting the precedent that if you want a meeting with high-level Microsoft, all you have to do is dress as Darth Vader and bring a sign or something like that and sing Spanish love songs. Anyway, I just got a note that I didn't finish sharing my thoughts on Elon Musk last time. Interesting. I think Elon's a complicated case because he's insanely smart, but he's also a billionaire, and the addictions are money, ego, power. I wanted to read something from this book, The Story of B by Daniel Quinn. This is from has anyone read this or heard of it? Daniel Quinn? He also wrote Ishmael. This is from the 90s. Anyway, I'm going to read a couple of pages and see what you guys think, okay? And then we can chat about it. Let's see. Okay, so Oswald has read Ishmael. Anyway, good stuff. It's the same general principle. He does an analysis that Adam, I think you'll love, and I think everyone will love. So here, I'm going to read, I don't know, a few paragraphs, and then you guys let me know what you think, okay? Let's see, got another. Oh, Dylan, you've read Daniel Quinn. Love his books. Wonderful. Well, that is awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and Adam writes about the gorilla. So, Adam, had you read Ishmael? You're on mute, Adam. Long ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, so you were in Star Trek. Okay, I get it. Okay, here goes. Let's see here. It's estimated that the human population at the beginning of the Neolithic was around 10 million. Would somebody find out when the Neolithic was? But I think it was around, I don't know, maybe 12 or 15,000 years ago or something like that.
12,000.
12,000, okay. All right. So 12,000 years ago, we had a population of 10 million. A little over 1/1000th of the population we have today. 1/1000th, right? But you see,
It's 780 to 1 is the ratio.
781, right? So call it 800 to 1. I mean, it's mind-boggling because at that time in the Neolithic, I'd say we were pretty darn close to, being a part of nature. We were freaking animals, right? We use tools. Well, beavers use tools, right? Lots of, I don't know about lots of animals use tools. Yeah, we're smart and have an opposable thumb and, tell stories and all that. But when you're the top of the food chain, no matter how smart or how stupid you are, you think you're hot shit because you're the top of the food chain. Doesn't it make sense? Anyway, let me read on. So 12,000 years ago, there were 10 million of us. And this is after 3 million years. So 3 million years, and the human race did not overrun the earth. We lived in harmony and balance. There was some growth, of course, through simple migration from continent to continent, but this growth was proceeding at a glacial rate. So 10 million at the beginning of the Neolithic. Then very suddenly things began to change. And the change was that people of one culture in one corner of the world developed a peculiar form of agriculture that made food available to people in unprecedented quantities. Okay? Following this, in this corner of the world, the population doubled in a scant 3,000 years. It doubled again, this time in only 2,000 years. In a blink of an eye of time on geologic scale, the human population jumps from 10 million to 50 million. Probably 80% of them being practitioners of totalitarian agriculture, members of our culture, East and West. And he uses the analogy of the frog in the pot of heating water. And he says the water in the cauldron was getting warm and signs of distress were beginning to appear. And I'm very happy to read on. I'd love to, but I first want to just, get the general point out there. The point is that with totalitarian agriculture, and that's, I love the term. I think Daniel Quinn minted the term, but it's basically, it's agriculture that's basically the opposite of an edible, living, thriving forest, right? With a nod to Jorge. Let's see.
When was that book written, Jamin?
This, I think it was like 97 or something like that. Let me see. 96.
Yeah, that's before we've learned a lot since then.
Yes, we certainly have, but here's the thing. I think the principles in this book are as true today as they were in 1996. And, basically, before the Neolithic, we were in balance with nature. And as the top of the food chain, there weren't that many of us, right? 10 million.
Right, and we lived with big animals.
Yeah, we shared the ecosystem with other big, but we hunted big animals, right? So we were at the top of the food chain. We weren't the biggest, but so we hunted animals bigger than us. But we lived in harmony. But then, see, here's the definition of totalitarian agriculture. So different from that, we're not, leveling forests to grow stuff. When we were in balance with nature, we weren't leveling forests. We weren't leveling anything. We were just picking stuff, right? And occasionally killing an animal. But it was basically, it was nuts and berries and fruit and whatever we could pick. And occasionally we'd kill an animal, and, we called it good. Totalitarian agriculture, the definition is you clear the forest, you kill everything. You kill. It's omnicide on that chunk of land, 100 acres, whatever amount of land, 1,000 acres, million acres, whatever. It doesn't matter about the quantity of land. It's what you do to each acre of land. You chop down everything, you kill everything, and you just leave dead soil. And then you plant whatever you plant, grains on that dead soil. You see, since we grew up with it, for us, it's as natural as factory farmed, beef. It's, it's what you do. It's like a Geico ad. It's what you do. Those dumb Geico ads on TV? It's what you do. They're actually kind of funny. We're such a social species. Check it out. Our species we could be born on, up on the North Pole, as First Nations people up there living in igloos, hunting whales, whatever. We could be born in a desert. We could be born in a jungle. We could be born on a mountaintop. We're so adaptable. We're insanely adaptable. Well, it stands to reason that, of course, we're going to adapt to, if we were born in New York City and we eat hamburgers, bacon cheeseburgers, and where does the meat come from? Well, you see those farms over there? Okay. We just take it all in like a sponge. We don't question it, right? A human being who questions everything would probably be mentally ill, right? Considered mentally ill by this, by modern standards. Why? Well, they're questioning everything. right? Look, we're only here a short while. We're born, and we're a big ass burden on our parents for the first few years and all that, and then we essentially become economically productive, and next thing you know, it's time to reproduce. So we're on this fast track to be not just productive but reproductive, and then get our own kids up to speed, right? That's hard work. There is no time for questioning, right? We just take it all in and say, okay, that's just the way it is, right? So that's why totalitarian agriculture just seems so natural, not natural to us anymore. We're pretty enlightened, those of us who are on this call, right? But that's why it seemed so natural to us when we were kids, when we were growing up. It's our nature that stuff seems natural to us because we're such a social species. Monkey see, monkey do. Probably goes back to the primates who preceded us, right? That's all hypothesis, okay? But I think it's pretty defensible and wouldn't be too hard to demonstrate if we made a serious project out of it.
Each generation is born, one after another. So it's, that's the way we.
Yeah, and the thing is, it happened incrementally. Adam, is just as you say, you start off, herding cattle. Next thing you know, you're herding people, right? Next thing you know, you're Adolf Hitler exterminating people by the millions, right? It's a progression. And the thing is, see, totalitarian agriculture, it destroyed ecosystems, but it also allowed us to reproduce insanely quickly. And now it's gotten us to this terminal point where, by objective measures, we're almost dead, right? So, that's one of the reasons I love these 24-hour block parties, is because at the late night hours, Dylan's in bed half asleep, so he's not going to object. Probably half the people here are half asleep and the other half are 3/4 asleep. Just kidding. But, and we can, that way we can really dig into stuff. Anyway, so with totalitarian agriculture, it's the best analogy I can think of is somebody striking a match to a piece of firewood. At first it burns slowly and wow, that's kind of interesting. Next thing you know, the whole thing is ablaze and wow, it's putting out a lot of heat. And then it's all burnt out. We're basically in the process of torching Mother Earth. We are in the process of torching Mother Earth. It's taken 10,000 years and we live and die in, 80 to 100 years if we're lucky, or 130 years if you're a Japanese woman. But it's in the range of about 100 years, right? And so 10,000 years, it's 100 generations. It's a long time. Well, not 100 generations, more like 300 generations or 400 generations, right? So it seems like a long time, but in geologic terms, it's a blink of an eye. So in a blink of an eye, we've torched the planet, and in the process emitted all these sparks, skyscrapers, bridges, nuclear bombs, things, even a rocket to the moon, right? A rocket to the moon is not inconsistent with this general hypothesis, this general narrative that we learned how to destroy ecosystems to produce monoculture crops and, monoculture livestock. And all we've done over the years is get more and more and more efficient at it in pursuit of money. Each of us individually pursuing money, and it being a zero-sum game to the point that you've got, massive food abundances and millions of people starving to death because we're so addicted to money. It's like the heroin addict who can't stop shooting up to feed her own kids, right? And then they become malnourished or they die from neglect. It's not that she doesn't love her kids, it's that the heroin addiction essentially strips her of her humanity. Now, build on that and look at all of us money addicts. We have been stripped of not all, but much of our humanity. And so I kind of feel like, you know, we're a bunch of heroin addicts in a shooting gallery, and Adam is imploring us all to consider putting down the needle, right? I mean, the addiction to money has driven us, you know, because I mean, there's different ways to look at it. You can say when we were just hunter-gatherers and we'd kill an animal, it was because we needed to survive, and I'll buy that. But so you started off killing animals that way. Then you started herding animals, and I wonder if it was a kind of a gradual sort of thing, because even before we started actually herding animals, we would, you know, manipulate herds, right, in order to, you know, in order to capture, I don't know, a bunch, and so that's when we started generating surpluses from manipulating herds, like corralling them to an edge of a cliff or something terrible like that. And so if you can imagine doing that, you can imagine it being sort of like an incremental thing. You start by manipulating the herds, and then you manipulate them more, and then you corral them, and next thing you know, you build a fence and you've got them trapped. And then you realize that if they can't roam, then they starve. Okay, so you start, you know, moving them along. Okay, eat, but I'm still going to kill you, right? What I'm saying is there's shades of gray between hunting and factory farmed agriculture. In both cases, you're killing the animal to eat it, right? That's universal across the entire spectrum, all shades of gray. It's just a matter of how much does the cat play with the mouse before it finally kills it. You know what I'm saying? We've played with animals to varying degrees. So I see it as a matter of shades of gray. I can't look at one particular moment and say, aha, that's where we lost our humanity. You see what a slippery slope it is? It's like alcoholism. You start off in high school having a beer or two and just feeling wonderful because, you know, you're suddenly like forgetting about homework and stress and whatever else, and you're just on cloud nine. Well, 40 years later, you're, you know, a functioning alcoholic or a dysfunctional alcoholic or whatever. But you see what a slippery slope it was? I think it's the same thing with animal agriculture. And now slavery, that's like, it feels like a whole different ball of wax. But I mean, what's the difference between being a wage slave today who takes a trolley home and lives in a little shoebox apartment to being, you know, a slave in the, you know, late 1700s anywhere in the Americas? Fundamentally, what's the difference? Oh, well, they have better living conditions and they're free. How free are we? We're addicted to money. I love the way Silas put it earlier today. We are factory farmed humans, born en masse, put through a rigorous training program, disciplining program. You know, like how they break horses so that they're not wild, but they're tame or whatever? We're broken humans. We're broken, addicted humans who've gone down a slippery slope of animal agriculture, human exploitation. But the thing is, I think that part of what's driven us to be so horrible, right, by humanitarian standards, is that there's so many of us, right? Put too many guys together inside a confined space like a prison, we're going to do horrible things to each other. So I think the way I see it is, it's not that humanity is a cancer, but the combination of humanity and totalitarian agriculture set us on an exponential population growth trajectory, and overcrowding led us to lose more and more and more of our humanity as we learned, ever more painful ways of surviving in an overcrowded, competitive, hyper competitive, difficult world. Now, if you're rich, it's a playground, right? I used to own a fair amount of land, and in the middle of a good chunk of land, on a big, beautiful house, you're just so disconnected from, the suffering of life out there in the world. You're just buffered from it, right? And when you feel like you've earned it, or whatever, whether you've inherited it or whether you worked for it, either way, you feel like you deserve it. Well, I deserve it because my family, built up this whatever, this, small or large fortune. And so I can hang out here and be comfortable. And if you earned it yourself, earned it, even more so. Emery writes, winning is the name of the game. That's right. We've become vicious competitors, right? And so it really feels to me like we are a bunch of hapless heroin addicts in a crowded shooting gallery. And what's predictable is that we're going to keep shooting up more heroin and doing whatever terrible things we need to do to service that addiction. Oswald writes, Orwellian agriculture. Yeah, sounds like the same kind of thing. Nobody knows it's totalitarian. Nobody knows it's totalitarian. But anyway, after hundreds of generations of filtering, right? The people who basically said, this is bullshit, this is crazy, I can't participate in this sick world, right? They didn't reproduce, right? What woman is going to want to partner up with a schizophrenic who's questioning everything and, complaining about everything, right? No, they in turn have been bred to, marry sociopaths, basically, who are really good at making money. So it's just been this really weird evolution. Not an evolution, but well, you get what I'm saying, right? There have been selective pressures. Hey, who's that guy? Hey, Nolan, what's up, man? Dude, Nolan's sitting right next to me. He's just on his own computer. What's going on? Oh, okay. What? Oh. You know, oh, you must be connected to the iPad. Okay, I get it. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, there we go. Now, okay. Now I see. Uh-oh. Wait, aren't we going to like cease to exist if you hold that at the right angle? It's just like logically. Anyway. Adam writes, don't you think anyone could be a psycho? Well, in today's world, hell yeah. I mean, we're all kind of psycho. We've been bred to be these vicious killers. Let's face it. I would abbreviate that Nolan straight. Anyway, good one, Oswald. But anyway, So anyway, if what I'm saying is, close to the truth, then what does it mean? It means we need to apply some sort of a group therapy to ourselves. We're not going to get out of this addiction alone. We basically need to create an AA, an Alcoholics Anonymous, for basically human psychos anonymous. But I mean psycho in the sense that we're all psycho, right? So we need to create a human psychos anonymous that's 7.8 billion strong. Oswald writes, I'm Oswald, and I'm in recovery from Western civilization. Totally. But here's the thing. One of the things that Daniel Quinn argues extremely convincingly, because it's such a simple argument, is that East-West, it's all fundamentally the same culture. And I think this is really developed highly in Ishmael, which I highly recommend. I highly recommend both these books. And don't be discouraged by the fact that they're written in the 90s. That does not make them obsolete. It makes them classics. And Homeboy just nails it. And also the 90s were a much better time to write books than today, because you actually had time to sit back and reflect, because the world hadn't hyper accelerated to the point that it has now. Yeah, no kidding, Oswald. He writes, rest in peace, Daniel Quinn. If only he could be here. Man, what a conversation that would be. But just consider this. Here's the thing. This is only the fourth block party. And admittedly, we suck at promoting. And in spite of our suckage, amazing people have turned up. Now, it's also true, we've been at it for a few years, and we've done some kind of cool stuff over the years. So, we've got an interesting, small but very interesting and very dialed in following. So anyway, but here's my point. My point is there are other Daniel Quinns out there. We just need to create a strong enough and persistent enough magnet that gives them a chance to come to us. And that's what we're doing. And look at the badass people who've come to us, who are us, who constitute us. Everyone here on this call, you're part of the us. I don't care if you're asleep, you're part of the us. because you weren't asleep when you connected. You may have fallen asleep listening to me. But you're here.
I'm here, and I'm confused.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I've been sitting in for a while now, and I think I know how I got here, because I really am not sure how I landed in here. And I have a feeling it has to do with a gentleman named Brett. I'm not sure.
Good. Yeah, Brett, he's one of the Daniel Quinn caliber people who I'm talking about. Brett over in England. And so, have you been following Brett, or anyway, back to you, Mark.
Well, yeah, Brett and I have become intertwined, actually. It was funny, 5 years ago, I was looking into something to follow up on something. I came across NewMap, and then 5 years later, I met Brett and realized he was in the video from previously. But I'm just curious what you're reading here, gentlemen, and what your story is here. What is it that's happening? I think I have a sense of it, but I'd like to hear more directly, because I've heard a lot of things about being here and doing something. But what's your story? What's going on?
As a wise man once said recently, "What's your got, man?" Right? So what we got is it's kind of like a hyper object. It's kind of like the 7 blind men and the elephant. So I'll just grope around it, and you get what I'm saying, Mark, obviously. One facet of the hyper object is the planetary crisis we're in. Another facet of the hyper object is collective superintelligence. And if you haven't seen it yet, I highly, highly, highly recommend you spend 30 minutes watching the video that you'll find on the page of the Block Party on radish.org. Towards the bottom of the page, there's a link, the button that says 30 minutes of radical collective intelligence, or radical collective intelligence in 30 minutes, or something like that. And anyway, spend a half an hour and really get steeped. It's only 30 minutes. You'll get totally steeped in collective superintelligence and where we're coming from there. All right, so we got planetary crisis, collective superintelligence as this this goose that lays golden eggs. The golden eggs are the solutions that we need so badly. And these solutions are spearheaded by SRM. But you know how a spear, in order to be effective, it doesn't just need a sharp spear tip. It needs a whole, straight, long, heavy, strong spear, wooden shaft with feathers at the end, right? So the tip of the spear is SRM, solar radiation management, the actual engineering solutions to get that done. That's easy enough. The hard part is the wooden shaft behind that spearhead, the political solutions, financial solutions, nonprofit sector solutions, cultural solutions, news story for humanity to support that we're in over our heads, and that we need such a mega solution. That's a big pill to swallow, right? And that if we don't do it, we die. Most people aren't ready to hear that news, sadly, right? Okay, so again, taking inventory. We've got the planetary crisis. We've got collective superintelligence capable of generating the full stack of solutions, the full stack, right? All the way down to media solutions, PR solutions, social media, memes, 90-second YouTube videos that go viral, tweets, this, that, the other, right? You know how Donald Trump spent a lot of money and got a lot of smart cats together and did a successful campaign to become president of the United States? we can do something similar, but very different. Because its aims are different, its scale is vastly bigger. You can run for president with a few $100 million, but it's going to take hundreds of billions, 3 orders of magnitude more, to cool the planet. So it's a much bigger campaign, much less conventional. It's hard stuff. That's why we need collective superintelligence. So again, let's take inventory. We got planetary crisis, collective superintelligence, the goose that lays golden eggs. Then we got a whole pile of golden eggs over here that came out of the goose, these being the full stack of solutions to cool the planet, deacidify the oceans, stabilize human population, restore and heal ecosystems, get the world to go vegan, get us to live in our ecologies instead of McMansions, et cetera, et cetera. That in a nutshell is who we are, why we're here, what we're all about, what the story is. Happy to answer any questions. Go ahead, Mark.
The feathers at the tail end, the trim tabs, so to speak.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Those are the trim tabs. And the trim tabs are what we're doing right here. We're starting with the feathers. And like, you know, Kung Fu, the series in the 70s, we're just like, wow, you know, with minimal effort. How much effort does it take to hang out and talk? Right? We're doing what comes naturally to us, right? But what we're doing is we're assembling an extremely unique collection of human beings. We've put out a fairly faint dog whistle that only certain kinds of dog ears can even perceive, right? Such as yourself, Mark. But the people who are here are the seekers of knowledge, of wisdom, of the answers to this riddle. How the hell did we get into this mess? And how the hell are we going to get out? Right? We're the people who, like my dad, said, screw it, I'm not going to worry about making money. I'm comfortable. I'm not going to worry about making another penny. I'm just going to get out there and do what needs to be done to help, in his case, the San Francisco Bay Area, right? 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even the last decade and a half. And I'm my father's son. That's my story. What's your story? Share it whenever you feel like it, but never any pressure to talk here.
Well, goodness gracious, you just asked a question that I just answered, and that's quite an invitation. And I touched on it a little bit earlier. And if you would like, I could share that story with you. Yeah, okay, here we go. Let's see if we can find it. So let's see, I have to first call up the window, right? I've got so many things open from every time somebody says something, I'm searching, and I've got so many windows open here. I'll be right there. Okay, what I'm going to do is share with you the fact that somebody did just ask me that question, and it was recorded. And it's part of my story now.
Oh, hey, Mark.
Yeah?
You can't hear the audio, but there's a trick to it. stop the screen share, actually, go back to where you were in gallery view. There you go. Now go back to share, but go step by step. Hit the share button, and then if you're going to share something, there's a checkbox in the lower left that says, "Yeah, you share computer sound," or
That's it. Got it. Share sound. Optimize for full video clip. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Oh God, it's telling me I've got to install something. I just shared this earlier.
No, but you
Can you
just
zoom?
install it, because I guess what it needs is the plugin to enable you to channel the computer's audio to Zoom. Go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it'll do it quickly here. Thanks for your patience.
No, dude, no hurry. See, that's part of the magic of the wee hours of the block party, is that we're not going anywhere, and we got a lot of hours in front of us.
Something happening? Or am I on share now?
Yeah, you're in share. We should hear it if you hit play now.
Okay.
No, we still
Nope.
don't hear anything. Try messing with the volume there or something. You know how
Also, when I did it, when I shared my computer audio for the first time in Zoom, I was on Mac, and I had to actually restart Zoom after giving it system permissions to access the audio.
Okay, so here's an alter. So you can either do that, Mark, or you can just copy that YouTube link, paste it in the chat, and I will share it. No problem.
Oh, we can do that. That's so strange because I did just play it for somebody on a Zoom call. Let me get the link to it. I'll get the direct link. Oh, you know what? I wonder. Do you hear it now?
No, we don't.
Okay. Here's coming the link. Stop sharing.
Idiot.
So this is yeah. When you go to that page, you'll see the very first video.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I just saw Martin Shaw in person at that performance that he's on tour with right now.
It's the first video thing.
Yeah, it was quite something to see, actually.
Which one? The very first one?
That one.
I'll look.
Yeah, The Last Fairy Tale, The Next New Mythos. That's the one that we're looking for.
Okay. All right. Now I will share.
Enjoy.
I don't click this optimize thing, do I?
I don't. Oh wait, hover over it for the best full screen.
Why not?
Okay.
Or have you not clicked it before?
I haven't, but
all right, let's
you
try
can
it
try
without,
it.
and then if we need it, we'll do it. Okay.
As in any good story.
Did you hear the sound there? Okay, good. Okay, here goes. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mark.
As in any good story, it carries the thread from whence it came. And this story was handed to me, this thread was handed to me in a moment of clarity that one might call epiphany. And I was pretty young, I was in my 20s, and the project I was working on, based on the ideas of the many people that are now being recognized for their work, Buckminster Fuller, Gregory Bateson, and all the people that were thinking about the newness of expanded consciousness in the 70s and what we had learned through the 60s, and that if we applied that to humanity and our understanding of our presence on the planet, that all would be well. And I had a view further behind that curtain when the technologies of networking were starting to emerge in the late 70s. And I had the opportunity to work on projects for some major corporations on their needing to bring together their people from all around the world for their annual meetings to test something that soon became email, and to then also work with the people that were creating technologies to test something that soon would be known as networking. And so I was engaged in designing and implementing projects that was, in essence, expanding human consciousness and connecting us in ways that had never happened before. And who I am and what I was doing at the time as a designer and a thinker and a curiosity young kid led me to places that cracked open this epiphany. And I was gifted the story of the leprechauns. And that story comes from the notion that humanity has been trying to understand their presence and place, and our simple senses led us to a notion of duality. And our fight or flight brain, as it evolved, held on to that quite strongly. And that sense of duality, through many years of interacting with the world around us, led us to being able to extend our senses and tune in to what was going on around us more deeply than our simple senses could. And at the same time, our presence and like sense of body and corporal, like we were an interbeing, we were connected in a way that we couldn't explain, but we knew how to be present in it. And then we started naming it, calling it things, scientificing it, religiousing it, clarifying it. And we ended up to a place where we could finally call out and say, oh my God, if we look deep enough, and we could say everything was made of, electrons and protons, that duality. We named it that way, and we worked with it for quite a while. We dug ourselves into the culture that we now have that is based on that. And somewhere along the line that's always been there, we've outed this notion of consciousness. And when we brought that into play, and we went beyond the simple senses and the simple duality of electrons and protons and added consciousness, you had Eleprecon. What, might you ask, is an leprechaun? Coming from an ancient fairy tale, the last fairy tale, the one that we've come from. That, if you can find that little creature, that trickster, will tell you where the treasure is. Eleprecon, tell me an age-old secret. Eleprecon, where do you hide and keep it? You started with a word, this I have heard, and now I intend to seek it. Eleprecon, electrons, protons, and consciousness. Wait, electing between the pro and the con. This is how we've gotten here today, to become eleprecons, to move past the simple notion of duality, to understand consciousness is a foundational component of our reality. We cannot be objective. We are part of it. And once we realize that and we connect in ways that we could have never imagined before, as we can with new technologies that provide us, you and me, right at this very moment, to connect in this way, this ability leads to a fascinating equation. And as evolution goes, we go from one to the next. You had Einstein with a physical equation, E equals mc squared. Oh, what comes after 2? 3. When you get to 3, it's exponential. It becomes infinite. So let's land on E equals mc to the infinite power. Evolution equals mind times omnidirectional communication. The idea that we can actually do this now between you and I, here and now. It's recorded. Leah, hi. You'll be sitting in and watching this. So we're communicating with the future. Leah is now communicating with the past. We're communicating with the planet. We're understanding what the oceans are about. We're understanding what our children are about. We're understanding what's being left to them and the complications that we've created. We've tuned in. Our senses are much, much more advanced than they ever were. And yet, at the same time, we're trying to regain that sensibility of being attuned to the planet without all this technology. What's that all about? That's what we're here to discover as leprechauns. The evolution of humanity. That's the story that was gifted to me that I wasn't quite sure what to do with when it landed in my lap 40 some odd years ago. And I've been holding on to that thread for a very long time, wondering what to do about it. That living my story, that accepting it, and in the last 5 years of once my children became more independent and I could step out and regain the grasp of that story and go explore where it's connected to in various ways. That's the thread I'm holding on to that's led me to sit here with you at this very moment and be engaged in a project called The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible that is about the sense of story, the sense of place, and the sense of community. And that's been my journey to just learn what's going on in the world because I've been checking in over the years. What's happening? If I knew that I was gifted this little peek into the future to say the leprechauns are coming. The leprechauns are coming. Keep an eye out for them. Here's what you can expect they might be. Here's the ideal. And somewhere along the line, of course, we've been co-opted. We see what's happening with fake news and media. But all that is part of the lesson. The evolution of us growing as a culture that's now connected in such a way to each other and the planet that we have capabilities to evolve in a way that we never imagined. And that's the hope I hold forth and the work of my future as I step out. That's my gift. That's what I can do now. That's why I'm here. That's my story. As in any good.
Beautiful, Mark. Oh my goodness. Well, as I watched that video, one thought kept recurring over and over. And that is this. Mark, you definitely have the right stuff for the collective intelligence block party. Absolutely, positively, and we need you here. Just like we need Dylan, just like we need Nikki, just like we need Adam, just like we need Emery, just like we need Oswald, just like we need Les, just like we need Nolan, just like we need Jamin, just like we need, I can now rattle off the names of dozens of people. I'm really glad you mentioned, I hope you don't mind my just going off. Did you have more to add? Back to you, Mark. I don't want to, you share what you need to share, and then I've got plenty to share.
Oh no, I'm listening deeply to please, you shouldn't interrupt yourself.
Right. And in fact, we just listened to you for 8.5 minutes. So anyway, no, just kidding. No, really beautiful stuff. Because here's the thing with the exponential. Obviously, you understand exponentials deeply, and the whole nature of it is it looks like the x-axis for the vast majority of its history, and only here at the end does it. So there's 3 phases. there's flatline x-axis, where anyone looking from the outside says there's nothing there, there's nothing there, there's nothing there, right? And then, so you got 3 stages: flatline, x-axis, knee, and then vertical, right? And I have been working pretty much nonstop on collective intelligence and a few of the golden eggs that have come out of the goose. And it's been an interesting dialectic, because you work on the goose and then you check out a golden egg. It poops out an egg. You look at the egg, you analyze it, and then you kind of go back to the goose and say, okay, what else does the goose need to lay bigger and better eggs, right? And so, but I've been doing nothing but goose and golden eggs centered around the goose of collective superintelligence for the last 6 years. It's been a little over 6 years. Kind of amazing. When I started sprinting on this, a friend of mine took out, you know, those cards. What do you call those cards? You know, those big cards with all these different pictures and all that. Tarot. And I drew a card. It showed this guy carrying a big load, and it looked like he had a ways to go. And I was like, oh shit. Anyway, that was 6 years ago. If I'd known it was going to take that, well, let's just put it this way. I'm glad I didn't know it was going to take this long. The good news is here we are. So I've been through 6 years of flatline. And when Nolan joined 7 months ago, it was clear that it was just at the early stage of the knee, right? And at the beginning of the knee, it still looks like a long haul. And I said, look, Nolan, by the time we get to 20 of us, right, then whoosh, we're on our way, right? Because at first it was just me. And then it was just me and Michael Call for a while. And then, you know, and then it was kind of weird, because in the process of laying some golden eggs, we started forming little teams around the golden eggs, but that's different from the goose. We needed the goose to take off exponentially. And so it's because there was so much dialectic between the goose and the golden eggs, it was hard to tell, you know, how many people were actually working on the goose. But for a long time, it was just a couple of us, and then there were 3 of us, and then there were 4 of us. And, but again, with different levels of commitment and all that. But when Nolan jumped in, I knew, all right, now this is going somewhere. And because at that point, we had Nolan, we had Jamie, and we had a few other folks who had been with us for a few years at that point, but in different capacities, right? And at that point, we were adding great people, about 1 per month, right? And I said, look, at this rate, it's slow going, but man, by the time we hit 20 people, it's just going to take off. And we're now around 20 people, right, who are deeply committed to this work. And so, you know, it's like the story of the lily pads that are so tiny, and they double in size every day, but they double in size from like the head of a pin to 2 heads of a pin, right? And you still can't see them. But then after whatever 99 days, now they're covering half the pond, and a lot of them are touching. And by day 100, they're covering the whole pond. I mean, that's the exponential right there, right? So, and then with all these forces building, as you know, we discussed earlier today with Alfredo and Jeff, and you know, over the course of the last 18 hours, we got 6 more hours to go to finally lap the full 24. Funga. Yeah, we high five each other when we cross this that threshold. This is our 4th block party. And for the second time tonight, I wanted to just like, you know what, this is too much. Let's just go to bed, you know. But we've hung in there with some help from our friends. Thank you, Ringo. And here we are. And we're in the knee of the exponential, and we're just about to go vertical at this point. I can't imagine this going another month without going vertical. So, Mark.
Okay. Yeah. So let me bounce that a little bit with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you familiar with the work of Charles Eisenstein?
Yes, yes. I've read like 3 or 4 of his books. And I love the title that you quoted in that video, The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. I thought that was his best work. Better than his most recent. His most recent, I think, he kind of lost the thread a bit. But yeah, More Beautiful World, great stuff.
So morebeautiful.world is a website that I've mounted as the host to a project that we're working on with Charles that came out of it being together with him for a week a year ago. And pre-Oprah Einstein is better than both. And
what's that?
We are
pre-Oprah.
I was just reading. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't even know he was on Oprah, but it must have gone to his head because, anyway, back to you.
No, he's still quite the same person. He's just got a lot of thoughts. And but the point being is there were some people that were together, and an idea was seeded that we have been nurturing called MBW 24, More Beautiful World 24. And that's part of the reason I jumped in here. It's like, wait a second, you're doing something for 24 hours? So June solstice in 2021, the intent is there'll be a 24-hour live stream. And this live stream will be telling the story about what you all are talking about. The fact that there are these stories happening that is creating the more beautiful world that we know is in our hearts, because there are so many active hearts out there working on what you believe is the right thing to do. And we want to help elevate and articulate and amplify those stories. And that is the intent of, if you go to morebeautiful.world, what we will be launching with an event called Now What, that has happened a few times, and bringing people from around the world together to, we'll be introducing this project. And I'm thinking there's a way to weave into your 24-hour Friday jam sessions here. Yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot.
Absolutely, totally. Yeah, no, we're so deep into the knee now, it almost feels vertical at this point. So that means we've passed the midpoint of the knee, and that's anyway. There's a lot of crucial points to this, anyway, this is one of those crucial points. But I loved your video, Mark, and I'm telling you, you got the right stuff. More Beautiful World. Let's take a peek. I'd like to take a peek at a more beautiful world.
You're asking about my YouTube channel. What I'd recommend is going.
Well, at this point, I've got a prediction. It's just a matter of who shows up first, Charles Eisenstein or Greta Thunberg. But whoever shows up of those two, they're going to give us one hell of a run for our money, and we're going to give them one hell of a run for their money. And Adam Scholl is going to try to convince them that there should be no money. So it's money cubed. Again, the magical number 3.
Adamson.
Yeah. No.
So Nolan, you just got pegged here. That you're an integral part of this, and I'd like to hear your story. What draws you into this picture, and what are you bringing forth? What's your gift?
Let me rephrase that for Nolan. What's your got, Mike?
Well, it all started 3 years ago. When I met Jamin on the University of Washington campus, where he was protesting, had signs up calling out drug cartels and expressing his concern with abrupt climate change and economic disaster. And I met him a couple times on campus, and we talked and shared lunch together. And then about 7 months ago, which was, well, I'll back up a little bit. So at the time I was studying computer science at the university, and so I did that for 2 or 3 years. Helped with some research there. And I was pretty freaked out about where I was going in the industry and the people I was working with and around. And at the same time, just injecting a bunch of information into myself from the internet and figuring out that there's a bunch of a lot of information out there that should have been more easily available and presented to not only me but everyone around me. So I ended up leaving the university, and I was thinking, like, I really want to create some center for, like, I was finding basically all this incredible information in, but just like separated, and it felt like there needed to be a place, like, I don't know, there was like a center of the internet missing or something, is the feeling I had. Just like too much really important information in different fields, not connected to each other. Then 7 months ago, Jamin, while he was, I think, trying to renew some domain names from GoDaddy, typed started typing in the email address of his representative, and then my email address came up. And so he remembered me. And he's like, oh, I'll shoot Nolan an email. So we exchanged emails, and then we had a phone call, and that went well. He invited me to the social club at the end of the world, which eventually transformed into what is now the Solution Club at the beginning of the New World. And that still runs every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So he invited me to that, and I met some really awesome people I was not expecting to meet. It wasn't until that point that I had had any sort of community of people to talk directly to about these massive issues we're facing. And I like tried to bring them up with some of my friends before, and nothing like seriously sticking or resulting in conversation that didn't end with basically, yeah, but why are we even talking about that? Because there's nothing we can do, and that's just the way it is, and I don't really want to go into it any further. You know, I'm scared of investigating that because of all the implications. At the social club, it was like just such a nice environment, like super therapeutic, because everybody's just, you know, sharing their concerns and talking about possible solutions, and you know, finding this thread of sanity, so to speak. And then after some of those meetings, Jamin and I would just stay on for extra time. And so it got to very quickly got to a point where we were basically on every day for like 6 hours, just talking with each other over video conference. And he introduced me to our dear friend Jamie, Jamie Gilchrist. And I got to spend some time with them in person, and Jamie's former DEA agent, and just incredible mind, super compassionate, and he just like totally wears his heart on his sleeve. And when I met the two of them in person, it just felt like a scene from a movie. It felt very cinematic, and the past 7 months have been a pretty crazy ride.
Oh, carry on. Yeah, okay. No, it's been a totally insane ride for over 6 years. And we kind of started the block party out of sheer frustration at how long this was taking. And for me, it was just going to be like my freaking last stand. You know, we're going to do this 24-hour block party every Friday. And we're just going to go deep, 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 deep into it. And either humanity will show up or it won't. But it's showing up in its imaginal cells like yourself, Mark, and like everybody on this meeting.
Stop complaining. I've been waiting 40 years for you all to show up. Dude, this is a story that goes on for millennia, as Adam has been sharing. And, you know, we're just entwined in a very long story. And hopefully it continues long after us, right?
Oh, of course. And can you imagine, look, and don't complain yourself. Think about all the people who died waiting because they didn't have the internet. And it was just like, like the guy who died crawling through the desert. You know, just dreaming of that oasis that was there, but it was just too far. We are so blessed to be born when we're blessed, right? Dude, look at Nolan. He's 22 years old, right?
Yeah, Nolan's actually a first generation of leprechaun. Yeah, you are. We're part of the transitionals.
Right. That's cool shit.
Yeah, you come equipped, Nolan. Stuff that we had no idea even, you know, was part of our tool sets. And you don't even have to think about it. It's just part of your consciousness now. Yeah. And I can understand the challenge of showing up and wondering, like, where is everybody? How come there's nobody here for me to play with? And then you meet somebody like Jim, and now here you are, like in this playground of the, you know, the collective conscious or the newest seer or whatever you want to call it. Fun. I can see the joy in your face of being present in this realm.
I'm really glad you showed up tonight, Mark.
It's all good fun. And Oswald, that's not your name. Wait a second. Joseph, right? You keep catching on to the little hooks the little barbs I throw out there. So you know of Teilhard's work. And, you know, what was really interesting is earlier, the talk of cosmic consciousness. It's a little dark in here. Otherwise I'd go get it. I actually have my mother's book of the original Burke's book from the 1901. The title of it was Cosmic Consciousness, when he brought together from the late 1800s all of these thoughts. And that was on my mother's bookshelf. That was what I grew up with. Thumbing through going, what the hell is this all about as a kid? And now it's all making sense.
Yeah, we've all had our journeys. We all have our stories. I just got to tell Nolan something real quick. Told you so. See, he didn't know about the exponential. And so, you know, I'd be like, Nolan, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. Because I've been on the path for so many years and we were getting so close, right? But for Nolan, this is just like, what the hell? I mean, he's 22 years old, right? We got to grow up slowly, you know, in the 70s and 80s, right? When things were nice and slow, right? Nolan's like a little baby born in the middle of the Tet Offensive or something like that, you know, in South Vietnam. I mean, it ain't pretty, right? It's like bullets are flying everywhere. Everything is accelerating. And it's just like, holy shit, you know?
I'll give you another metaphor. Nolan, have you ever bounced on a trampoline? Yeah.
I think I had one.
Pardon?
Yeah, for years.
Okay. So, and this is the metaphor I love, because this is what it feels like is happening right now. We talk about raising our consciousness, and imagine you're jumping on a trampoline, and that jumping and getting a little bit higher, that's a matter of perspective. And the higher up you get, more perspective you gain. When you're jumping on your own, it's quite something. You have to really come down, you kind of like somehow push back up. But have you ever had anybody stand on the edge of the trampoline, and right at the right moment, all they do is with a little bit, they just push down with their foot right when you land, and it shoots you straight up again. It's that, another metaphor for trim tab, but it's that aspect of what Jamin has done for you to help you bounce a little higher, to get that new perspective, to gain that consciousness that you are perceiving the world to be, through this energy of those around you that are helping you to bounce and gain that perspective. So, another metaphor.
Wow. I really like that metaphor. Thank you.
It's something we can all relate to, because most of us bounced on a trampoline.
Wow. Whew. Man.
What do you expect? So you guys are gonna stay up all night long. You're gonna do this 24-hour thing.
We do this every Friday, Saturday from 6 a.m. Pacific time, Friday morning, to 6 a.m. Pacific time, Saturday morning. 24 hours straight. This is the 4th block party every week. I don't care if it's Christmas, Hanukkah, or or Corona. We do it every 24 hours, every Friday, Saturday.
Okay. And are you like teaming up and taking naps and stuff? Like you getting a little wink in there?
For the first time today, I made history by walking away from the screen for an hour and 20 minutes to take a nap.
Okay, so you've been staying on for the other, like, 24, yeah, good for you. Yeah. I see a question being posed.
A question in the chat?
Yeah, yeah.
I see some questions from a few minutes ago.
It says CI is another army on the battlefield of the environment. What do y'all think of Evergreen State College controversy in Olympia, Washington?
Which controversy is that?
I don't know. Joseph has asked that also.
Okay. Oswald, you want to clarify? Anyway, whenever you get to it, Oswald, no hurry. He sends a link and it says, a right-wing media has tried to stifle students' speech at Evergreen State College. A day of absence for white people? What the hell is that? That's ridiculous. I don't even know what it's about. Anyway, it sounds like a bunch of noise. I'll tell you what, Oswald, share what you think. Just unmute your mic and let us know what you think, and then we can talk about it. And if you want me to pause recording, I'm happy to do that too. So, yeah, the bottom line is we're coming together, and it's kind of like at the beginning of the movie The Hobbit, And when like all these dwarves show up at Bilbo Baggins, and they just have a giant feast, and then they go off on this impossible mission, right? Well, this is Hobbitshire. Welcome to Hobbitshire. This is Bilbo Baggins' place. You've come to the right place. And I hope you've all come hungry. That's it. And we're going to head out, and there's going to be demons and goblins and poison, whatever, and then we're going to get to the land of the elves, and it's going to be a trip, right? So, eat up, get a good sleep, and tomorrow we ride. It's as simple as that.
I'm actually looking for earlier. I'm trying to connect some dots here.
Take your time. See, that's the beauty of the block party, and the beauty of the fact that we're only, we only number in the dozens at this point. We can have this beautiful quiet time.
Yeah. Earlier you had the youth session with Ryan. Right?
Ryan, yeah.
Holding our attention. Yeah, that was great. By the way, I took a screenshot of Ryan and what was the older gentleman's name? Alfredo?
Alberto. Alfredo was earlier.
Alberto with the long.
Yeah.
This is what Michael Meade talks about, is what we need. I was looking at it on the screen going, that's exactly what Michael Meade speaks of when he speaks of
James.
To connect.
Top of the morning. Sorry, Mark, but James is an absolute.
I saw him go to take a nap earlier.
Yeah. I mean, he has been an absolute diehard. This is the first time he's slept in the last 3 block parties. So good for you. Oh my goodness, my brother Fred's back on. Fred brother. Right? Anyway,
waking up.
Things are getting really amazing. Everybody meet amazing Mark. Absolutely, utterly amazing. Fred, you're going to love Mark. Just listen to Mark. He's one of us. James, you're going to love Mark. Everybody, you're going to love Mark. All right, Mark, keep being Mark.
I don't know where I was being Mark on. Where were we? What were you talking about? Where were we?
Oh, yeah, you said you took that screenshot.
Michael Meade.
And Michael Meade. And
oh, yeah. Talking about the need for bringing the youth and the elders together. Not the olders, but the elders. And that the gap between them is a big part of our problem, because the elders carry the wisdom of experience, but the youth carry the desire of hope. And it's keeping that continuity and that connection between those two things that will carry us through, right? And as Charles talks about, it's this story of separation that I hear Adam talk about with money, or we've talked about with being connected to the planet. So bringing this notion of the youth and the elders together was so beautifully represented in the discussion between Ryan and Alberto, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, Fred.
And so,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to bring up, I wasn't sure what the youth section was going to be on, and so I just let it go because Ryan was just on fire. But I did want to share, this came out of the Game B group on Facebook. I don't know if any of you are in there. These were 3 questions posed that are great questions. Number 1, what are some of the issues of difficulties in properly preparing the younger generation for a new world with the emerging psycho-spiritual technologies, physical digital technologies, and the regenerative ecology and integration of reestablishing meaning with the meaning crisis? 2, what could be done to address those issues? And 3, what is actively being done to address those issues? And if you'd like, I could read that first question again. What are some of the issues or difficulties in properly preparing the younger generation for a new world with the emerging psycho and spiritual technologies, the physical and digital technologies, and the regenerative ecology and integration of reestablishing meaning with the meaning crisis? So how could that be addressed, and what's actively being done? I thought those were great questions, and they seem to be fitting for your youth section.
Let's note those for next week's youth section. Good stuff, Mark.
What was the last word in the first question?
The last, this last part was
I just didn't hear the word.
reestablishing meaning with the meaning crisis.
Meaning crisis. Okay.
Any thoughts, Nolan?
I think that what's coming to me now is the abundance of information out there is extremely difficult to deal with without also pairing. I want to get at somehow pairing EQ and IQ is what I'm going for. Where if you are not personally connected to your streams of information, I would consider that a negative thing. And I think that considering this just insane pool of information we're all steeped in now, it's like you might follow a journalist that reports on a specific subject, but part of what you learn from them has to do with their personality and their life experiences prior to their journalism or in and around their journalism. So it's kind of like the Jamin and I talk about with algorithms, basically that a collective superintelligence would pair people not only by their topic in common that they want to talk about, but or relationship that you want to take on, say student and teacher, but it could be specifically this teacher that has a complementary set of archetypes to this particular student. And yeah.
And more generally, for a combination of 17 people trying to solve some very complex problem, right? With AI, we can do all kinds of pattern matching on which humans work well together. It's not that hard. How many parameters can there be? 64 gene keys? AI can handle 64 million independent variables. It's a piece of cake. So let's do it. Sorry to interrupt, but you know, for all kinds of, it's simply a matter of bringing the right people together. What we're doing here is just the beginning. We're going to create all the missing technology, which is very little actually. We've already got insanely good, insanely scalable Zoom video conferencing, extremely high bandwidth, really good search, Twitter, Reddit, Wikipedia. We got all these amazing web services that simply need to be upcycled and put into their proper use, right? It's like Henry Ford's dad is, you know, pushing a steel rim down the street that'll eventually be the rim of a wheel of a car. But for him, it's just a toy. He's just dicking around with it. Toy, tool, weapon. And this is going to be a weapon of mass destruction. What are we destroying? The destruction of the planet. It's the antiparticle of the destruction of the planet that we're creating. And we've got a bona fide Irish, I'm trying to think of a funny word to substitute for terrorist. You're certainly not a terrorist, but we've got an expert bomb builder, detonator from Cork, Ireland. Watch out.
A leprechaun. Yeah, I just saying, I agree exactly what you're saying. What about like social, natural, domestic skills? They're the most important as well as the technical, but they have to be a mishmash of all. But our children especially need the natural. We have to teach them the natural very young. How they're part of the natural world. And when you're teaching them how to part of the natural world and how to fit into that world, then you start to see the self-evident child within the child itself. And there is where the tech comes in then, and the bots, as you're talking about, and the algorithms and the education that can be applied or allowed, made available to that child then for that particular flame that seems to light up inside the child when it starts to see its place in the natural and social world. The tech comes afterwards because that's there to facilitate the child with everything it needs to brighten that flame that it seems to have been awoken in it from its natural and social world, but at a very young age.
I think part of the natural world that we've become very disconnected from is, or a weird effect, especially recent generations have had, is that I think intergenerationally we've been separated. So I think it was you, Mark, that were remarking earlier on like the importance of the youth and the elders to communicate. Yeah, that's right. And you're using Alberto as an example. And I love imagining, like I'll think back to different narratives I considered when I was like in my teens about where I was going. And, you know, what did I, just thinking about what I wanted out of what path I wanted to take. And just something as simple as 5 minutes with a person that's been like determined to be not only somebody who is on a path, further along a path I'm considering going down, but is also somebody that has been predetermined to be good at communicating with me and where I'm at right now. So just for like 5 minutes, like just that simple, if everybody had access to that simple technology, people would all be falling into like the right slots earlier and earlier on, because that that kind of intergenerational effect. Yeah, it's just insane to think about. We're in desperate need of something like that to connect these separated generations today.
Yeah, and now it's happening. Go for it, Fred.
I think one issue is I have a 19-year-old, a 25-year-old, and a 35-year-old children, and I've obviously been observing them go through their passages that are, you know, I've seen it before. I've seen it with other children or whatever of the same age, and they seem to have a lot in common. The only difference I see is we're talking about a method of getting young people together with older people in an accelerated way. Is that what I'm understanding? Yeah, because there seems to be, at least with younger people, and I remember it with myself and my father, there's sort of not an antipathy, but there's you think you know more than your father, and you're sort of dismissive. Well, I'm feeling that from my kids. And there's also now, I think technology is moving so quickly that myself, I have a hard time understanding the new language and the technology. So yeah, there seem to be basic difficulties or obstructions that you go through in your life with older people. I mean, it's hard to learn from them. It's like you've got to get burned to really understand something. You can't have somebody tell you that if you put your hand on a hot stove, it's going to burn you. You have to experience it yourself. So I'm just wondering about, I guess, that the difference I'm hearing between the way things have gone for a long time in rites of passages is that this algorithm or whatever is going to help young people hook up with older people who have had the experience, like mentoring, but it's an accelerated hookup. Is that what we're getting at here? Did that make any sense to you?
Yeah, I had something called Mentor Me Mentor that I was toying with, and that would be the idea of a place where just that kind of energy exchange could happen. I wouldn't know how to. I've been moving away from the trying to move away from the digital and sit with those that are speaking these stories. Martin Shaw was brought up earlier. Michael Mead's another one who's good to explore in these realms if you're really curious about it. Something that you talked about is something I've been working with since the early 90s. I introduced the prevention symbol when AIDS came on the scene. Oddly enough, there was never a prevention symbol. There's all sorts of types of prevention symbols, but not a prevention symbol. So we were working with the idea, and really it came down to the question that you just asked: is how do you impart wisdom before experience?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a challenging one. I've grappled with it for 40 years almost now, trying to, and I have kids too, and that's always like, okay, I know I can't tell you, you're going to have to go out and trip and stumble and figure it out, and I'll be there maybe to help you out, but yeah.
Yeah, so what's the difference between that? I understand what you're saying, because I grapple with that with my kids, and this new opportunity, I guess. Is it just an accelerated way of getting young people who are interested in what the older, wiser people have already gone through, and how will they be willing to listen? Because I mean, young people on some level understand what the older person is saying, but actually it's kind of like you have to live through it in order to really know it. So in this setup, how is that going to happen?
As my mother used to say about having children, you won't understand until you become a mother, right? So
yeah, right.
Nolan, I think that's a question for you, Nolan. And you were going to say something earlier too, so.
I was just thinking, it just in response to your, how do you impart wisdom before experience? And what immediately came to mind is that imparting doesn't fully, like I think that those conversations, like, I guess a lot of times what happens for me is I'll have some experience, and I either explicitly, consciously remember a conversation or a phrase that one of my parents repeated many times a long time ago, and I will have thought I forgot about it. And it wasn't that meaningful to me, but I'll have some experience that experience combined with that language in those conversations, that both of those things combine into something that if I only had the experience, I wouldn't have the same realization so early or so immediate. So it's kind of like those conversations prime you so that as you get close to having this full-on transformative, rebirthing, potentially very destructive or painful experience, the conversation helps almost, it like induce that in your imagination before you go all the way. Yeah, that's how I think about it. But maybe I didn't answer a question from Fred.
Yeah, no, I'm just, here's a bit of wisdom in a way. I mean, you can't, I mean, you can understand to a degree something that somebody who's like, you know, I'm probably at least 2.5 times older than you has had, but you haven't been beaten up by life to get to that point of wisdom. And I'm not saying beaten up, but had the experiences that brought you to that wisdom. Accepting it is, I've seen very few young people who can actually take a bit of information from an older person and put it into play at that time. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you don't, because you're the young person. So anyway, yeah, it's just a thought. And what's different about this now is the technology has really accelerated everything. So that, I mean, I feel quite honestly lost in some of these discussions because I don't understand the technology to the level that you guys do. And I know that's where we're going.
Well,
anyway.
There's really, really insanely good news for you. Are you ready for Christmas coming early times 100? Yes or no?
Sure.
Okay, here it is. Okay, guess what? Not only do you not have to learn new technologies, you're going to be able to actively forget about all the technologies that you've learned. And you know what? You'll be able to just show up at the campfire. Just keep your email. That's the one thing. Keep your email and keep clicking on Zoom links that I send you. And that's the last thing you're ever going to need to know how to do, tech-wise. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Because you know what? We're going to upcycle all of these badass web services that have been developed over the last 30 years into one giant sticky ball of taffy that's like the size of an automobile. And it's all stuck together. It's all one big thing. And all you have to do is slap the tar baby or kick the tar baby. But whatever you do to the tar baby, you ain't never coming out. So just jump in head first is my advice, into the mouth of the tar baby. And all you got to do is show up and talk and be yourself. Let the bots guide you. Let the AI guide you. Let Mark guide you if you prefer. You'll be able to choose to go manual or automatic. Manual is, hey, Mark, what's going on? Oh, come over here, Fred. We need you in this conversation. That's manual. And that's a hell of a lot of fun. Automatic is a lot of fun. Just step on the accelerator and push as hard as you can. Pick your flavor, chocolate or vanilla. Going on mute.
Okay. Can I just show you this, all of you vegans? Here's a product that I've discovered. Have you seen this before? It's a plant-based protein meal. They're delicious.
Oh my goodness. Fred, this is all part of the acceleration, but you ain't seen nothing yet. We're about to radically transform everything in the global economy, but that's just an early indicator. The real action.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be something that you might like to eat. You can put it.
No, I love it and I'll eat it. Thank you, Fred. I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm not kidding. But I'm just saying the real action is what's happening right here, right now.
Okay.
This is the collective superintelligence that's going to generate millions of products and services like the one you just dangled. Millions.
But you can eat this tomorrow.
I'll eat it tomorrow. But listen to this, Fred. You can eat collective intelligence tonight. Yeah, like
Here, I'm at the table.
well, pucker up, sweet lips, and get ready to stuff some nice vegan sausage down that beautiful throat of yours.
I knew it would come back to this.
Fred, I always win these jousting matches. Don't fuck with me. Anyway, back to Mark.
Okay. I didn't think we were in a jousting match, but maybe, whatever.
I like how you tossed that over to me there. Like, what was I doing in the middle of that?
Yeah, what did I do?
First of all, Mark, Fred's my brother. He's my brother. Okay, literally.
Oh, literally your brother.
Well, in Mexico, we say concuño. His wife and my partner are sisters. So we're concuños.
Got it.
¿Qué pasó, concuño? Back to you, Mark.
I don't know. I'm actually, for some reason, I'm compelled to share this. And that is one of many drawings from these.
I'm the one on top. Fred's on the bottom. Back to you, Mark.
Are you?
A
Okay,
little
I got it.
presumptuous, but
Okay.
we'll let it go.
All right. So these two characters, these are my two birds. They travel around, and you'll get to know more of them. But these two in particular, for some reason, came to mind. I think it was something you said, Nolan. But these are Clarion and a tractor, right? So Clarion is those that see clearly and have a voice and a way of articulating that. And a tractor is that other side of us that brings that energy towards us, whether it's ideas or people or ways to integrate. And for some reason, I was just compelled to share that. Clarion and a tractor.
Beautiful. See, this is collective intelligence, right? We're beyond the 1,000-word email of 2013, and we're using pictures now. How long did it take to write the 1,000-word email? 2 days. How long did it take to show that picture? 2 seconds. Welcome to the singularity.
Yeah, but it took me 60 years to draw it.
See, that's the exponential. It looks flat line, flat line, flat line, flat line, then it hits a knee, and then it's vertical. Those are the 3 phases of the exponential. Flat line, knee, vertical. And we're deep into the knee, gentlemen. Deep into the knee. And look, you guys, the talk about decades. It was back in the 90s when I designed the database for CEMEX that resulted in the single biggest simultaneous optimization of manufacturing and logistics of man-made materials ever done on planet Earth up to that time, as measured by tonnage of man-made material. My point is this. I was really kick-ass at building databases, designing databases in the 90s. I could design the database for collective superintelligence in my sleep. And that's if one person sets about doing it. But you know how I designed that database for CEMEX? I rounded up my whole team, 5 really smart engineers, because at the time CEMEX was like the, I don't know, what's the hottest company to work for today? I don't even know. It'd be like working for Google in like the year 2000 in Mexico. CEMEX was the place. So I had these super smart engineers. So we all just got into a conference room and spent a weekend, and we built that, and we designed the database, right? Anyway, we're going to do the same thing now, except we're going to do it here with like a few dozen, not just engineers, artists, philosophers, Charles Eisensteins, Greta Thunbergs, right? Marks, Freds, Jameses, Nolans, Nickies, Dylans, right? Oh yeah, and a bunch of database wizards who've been doing it for longer than I have. Anyway, we're gonna rock this, you guys. All we need is the database and some minimal connective tissue to the other web services, right? And that's it. And using Brett's badass Holonic stuff, right? Oh my goodness. We're going to run circles around abrupt climate change. We're going to make abrupt climate change look like Cyclops, who just had a big battle axe buried into its one giant eyeball. And it's right? Planted there by James. Boom. You guys, we've all been sharpening our battle axes for this one for decades. In Nolan's case, months. Actually, decades, couple decades. We've all been at this for decades, right? So, bring your, like I said, get a good meal tonight, get a good sleep, and tomorrow we ride. And don't forget your battle axes.
I enjoy the silence. I appreciate that. Everybody's like just reveling in wherever they are in this, just kind of like, wow, what do we do with all this? And it's like, what hour of the night and what millennia is it? And where am I?
You know, listen to this. So Oswald writes, what do you all think of Yuval Noah Harari? Well, I love his book, Sapiens, read it cover to cover. Delicious book. Here's the thing. There's all these like experts who are really good at one, you know, either part or whole sector of the hyperobject. Charles Eisenstein is great at entire sectors, plural, of the hyperobject, right? So is Daniel Schmachtenberger, et cetera, et cetera. Yuval Noah Harari is also quite skilled at multiple sectors, but with a very heavy bent towards the historical and the patterns of history and all that. Other people are looking into the future. Other people are looking laterally. Other people are looking wherever. So here's my short list. So we got Charles Eisenstein, Daniel Schmachtenberger, Greta Thunberg, Elon Musk, Yuval Noah Harari, Guy McPherson, Ye Tao. Oh, wait a second. We already got Guy McPherson and Ye Tao. But to complete that sentence, I was going to say, whichever one of these people we get on board first, the thing will take off exponentially. Well, it's already taking off exponentially. because we got Guy McPherson and Ye Tao, right? And now we got Brett, right? With the, I just call it Brett's Holonic Universe. He would call it something else. We got Brett, we got Dylan, we got Jeff, we got Lawrence, we got James. And, you know, these are, you know, some of our like big ticket names. And we've already got a small buttload of them, right? The more, see, look, once we get Elon Musk or Greta Thunberg, that takes us to a whole new level because they're world famous. I would put Charles Eisenstein and Daniel Schmachtenberger, and even Yuval Noah Harari, and even Guy and Ye, you know, at a slightly different level, right? But kind of these famous big ticket names are the ones that are going to push us into the millions. All these others are going to push us deep into the thousands. But the thing is, once we even get into the hundreds, we're already vertical, right? I mean, can you imagine 100 Marks, right? 100 Freds, 100 Nolans, and then put them all together, right? 100 Emerys, and then put us all together, and now we got a few thousand homies of different, you know, spanning all the sectors, okay? And so imagine, you know, somebody's got a historical question. Boop, you click on a link, and there's Yuval Noah Harari talking with you face to face, answering your history question and giving you way deeper insights than you even asked for. Oh, you want to know something about abrupt climate change? Click on another link. There's Guy McPherson, right? Oh, you want to talk about importing exotic furniture from Southeast Asia? Talk to my brother Fred, right? You want to talk about badass artwork? Talk to James, talk to Shiloh, talk to Melissa, depending on what flavor of artwork, right? You want to talk databases and artificial intelligence? Talk to me. You want to talk SRM? Talk to Ye Tao. You want to talk connections? Talk to Dylan. You want to talk holacracy? Talk to Brett, right? We've already got most of the cast, right? And whichever one of these folks, Eisenstein, Schmachtenberger, or Yuval Noah Harari, whichever one of those three wants to get up to the Elon Musk, Greta Thunberg level, come here first. Because once you do, we'll push you up there. And you'll leave in the dust everyone else in tier 2.
Help me understand what you mean, but when we've got them, what is it that you want of them?
I just want them here. Just show the bleep up, right? Come out of the closet and come to the damn block party and let's talk. Unless you're scared.
Well, it's not that. I'm just thinking. Everybody's. This is what I find is our biggest challenge these days. You know, attention is our commodity. That's what we have to give, right? Our attention, and we're all dealing with an extreme attention deficit disorder. Not the fact that we have a problem, it's just that there's too much to give our attention to. And we don't have enough attention to give to all the things maybe that we want to. And I just know that that's a big challenge in this day, especially with all these different conference or ways to get online and touch with different people. There's a lot of people out here doing very similar things. They're all asking for our attention. A lot are asking to share the resources. And that to me is one of the biggest challenges I see as I weave through this labyrinth, is that we're not sure how to collaborate because we feel like we're still in competition with each other, just to get our voices heard, gain attention, gain funding. So this is, I think what you're doing is exactly on point. It's just, I don't think we can put somebody down or challenge them because they.
Well, here's the thing. We're past all that, Mark. We're already blown all the way past that. Because look, I once asked Charles Eisenstein for a meeting. I met him in person. He was giving a talk in Oakland, and I went to his talk, and I gave him a very nice public comment to him. I'd already read his books. I walk up, shake his hand, say, hey, here's what I'm doing, da-da-da. Here's what we're doing with Radish, Collective Intelligence, da-da-da. I'd love to talk with you. And it totally blows me off, right? Oh, talk to my secretary. Well, fuck you too, right? Here's the thing. Here's why we're past all that. At the time, he was looking at it in the old paradigm, right? Of, I'm way up here. I'm a published author and you're a little shit. So you got to, do the unmentionable. And then, you get my attention, right? Well, guess what, Charles? I'm back. And this time I got a buttload of posse and we're going exponential. You want to ride the rocket ship? You want to be up in the cockpit? Or you want to be breathing our fumes? That's the question. Because here's the thing, we're not asking, now we're not asking for a hand up from nobody. Not from Charles, not from nobody. We're offering a ride in the damn rocket ship. And he'd be an idiot not to take it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I'm listening to you and I hear a lot of anger actually and frustration.
Well, I am angry, I'm frustrated. But I'm also winning. That's the difference. Back to you, Mark.
I'm not sure what we're winning. First of all, we are all on this spaceship Earth, as Bucky called it. We are all here on this planet. There's no excluding anybody. Every idea that I've heard from the people that I've come across in the last 5 years has validity. It is all of these different ideas that gives the integrity to what we all are part of trying to realize. And that is, we all are part of this story, and it's gone from before us and it will continue after us. And whether it's Charles or Nolan, look at Charles is no different, and he doesn't see himself any different. And I've only known that from sitting with him for a week in a yurt. But the impressions that we have of others and that we impose on others, these are what our worlds are about, and everybody's living in their reality, and we're trying to find that commonness, those things that we can relate to with each other. And if we keep finding these things that are, you're not going to get on, you're going to get on the spaceship or you're not, dude, we're all on this together. There is no, until you check out. So what do you want?
Let me know when you're ready for me to answer. I keep hearing a question, but then I keep hearing you talking. I'm not going to interrupt you. Back to you.
I think that's part of the problem with my name, because I am a question mark, sometimes an exclamation mark, sometimes a remark. So yeah, jump on in, June. That's fine.
Okay. So look, the reality is what was missing was a collective intelligence block party where we could all come together and in a hyper efficient way connect with others from our lost tribe. We're the lost tribe of the seekers, right? The ones who are seeking what the hell is the key to all this. Well, now there's a block party where we look, Charles could pop in here for 20 minutes, get his mind blown, blow all of our minds, and be a part of it. Or he could not. This is the rocket ship, right? It's important to know where you're at in the game. Look, if you're 7 points behind and it's 3 seconds before the end of the game, you throw a bomb, right? If you're 50 points ahead and it's a couple of minutes before the end of the game, you sit on the ball and run down the clock. It's important to know where you are in the game. Gentlemen and ladies, I think all the ladies are asleep. Gentlemen, we've won. So who wants to come to the after have a blast? Either you come or you don't. Everyone here is coming. So, the others aren't. So, join up now. The rocket ship is taking off. There is no, look, anyone can join 6 months from now, right? Anyone can, get on Google and do a search in 2020, but only 2 guys founded the thing, right? So who do you want to be? What do you want to be? You want to be a founder, or do you want to be a user 6 years from now, 50 years from now? That's it. And as to my anger and frustration, those are very real, right? Whenever a bunch of dudes start beating up and raping my mom, I get angry and frustrated. And when I blow a whistle and I say, hey guys, help me out, and we need to kill these guys, they're like, call my secretary. Yeah, you better believe I get angry and frustrated.
I'm trying to keep up with the images that Imre keeps posting. They seem to be relevant somehow. His screen image keeps changing somehow contextually. I'm not sure. Talk to the hand, right? Yeah, I'm not sure how, but. I have a question. Time zones. Where? Okay, James, you're in Ireland. I'm in Southern California. Yaman, I think I understood you and Nolan are in Seattle area.
Whidbey Island, Washington, north of Seattle.
Oh yeah, would be. My brother's up on Vancouver Island.
Oh, nice. I love Vancouver Island.
Yeah, spent a lot of time there. Where else is everybody? Like, I'm just wondering, are we all going into the witching hour now?
Well, James has had a good night's sleep, so he's just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, drinking his Irish breakfast tea, and he's all set. Now, Dylan's over on the East Coast. Do you know Dylan, Mark?
I don't think we've met.
Okay. Do you know Nikki?
No.
Emery keeps pretty quiet. He texts a lot of cool stuff. And then he chimes in from time to time and says really awesome stuff. Let's see. Where's Oswald?
In Oregon.
Oregon. Awesome.
So somewhere near Bend?
30 minutes, the president of the Postcard. We'll bring in Jason Bradford. Listen, it's time to invite all these people. And here's the thing. We're no longer asking them a hand up. We're inviting them to a party, the coolest party on earth. It's important to know at what point you're at in the football game. We just won this one, guys. And it's time to go to the after party. Except instead of opening up a bunch of champagne bottles. We're going to upcycle a bunch of badass web services and build a super cool database. Tie it all together, like the match. And off.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got to go upstream. So, okay, great. You're going to build this great database and whatnot. But where's the power coming from? Who owns that? Who's got their hand on the faucet upstream from this whole thing?
What are you talking about?
What do you mean? What am I talking about? You're going to need power. You're going to need resources. So this electricity, basically, you might call it.
Yeah,
and
well,
somebody's got to provide that.
yeah. Well, I pay my electric bill every month, about $100. We're good.
Okay.
And I assume you do too. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking. See, here's the beauty of this thing. This is open source, right? BYOB, right? Bring your own broadband, and we'll meet up at the block party. Everybody comes on their own. Everybody either takes the bus or walks or bicycles or skateboards or whatever, right? This is the virtual noosphere. It's virtual. We're actually meeting in the cloud. You got to watch those 30 minutes, okay, of Radical Collective Intelligence. That's Radish's special flavor of collective superintelligence. And we'll probably take it all the way. But the beautiful thing is we're in the process of merging with Brett's badass Holonic universe, right? We're bringing it all together. It's and, one giant tar baby. We don't need 57 million different web services with 57 million Post-it notes under your desk with your passwords and stuff, right? Those days are over. Like I said, Fred, Christmas came early times 100. You can recycle all those Post-it notes. Just remember your email and how to click on a link. That's all you need.
What's the ETA of this?
30 days at this point because we're somewhere in the middle of the knee of the exponential at this point. We're about to go vertical.
And that means a platform that will be available for us to go play in? Is that
Oh yeah.
what I'm understanding?
Jump in head first, and this is it. Here, let me give you a better idea. Let me give you a visual idea of what I'm talking about. No, you know what? You got to watch this 30. Why don't you watch the 30 minutes and then come back? Otherwise, we're just going to drag on here for the next 3 hours. It's way more efficient. Take a break, watch the 30 minutes of video, and then come back.
111. Wasn't somebody talking about numbers earlier?
I think so.
111.
I think that's
there were.
a big clue for you there. That's a big clue. Take the clue. Take the clue.
I will take the clue, gentlemen. Thank you. I'm gonna go delve.
All right. We'll see you in 30 minutes plus a bathroom break.
Yeah.
Number one, number two, as Jack Welch said. See, this is chop chop. We don't have a buttload of time to waste. The time to waste time is over. It's time to get this done. Everybody else here who's awake has seen the 30 minutes of video, right? Good, good, good. Fred, you're on mute.
I said, oh, wow, 1 o'clock. It's late.
Oh, the night is young.
I know from Mad Men. Well, you guys, this is going till 6 a.m.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
What was it? Okay. I think I'm going to come back in a while. What? Are you on mute? I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Hey, hey, Dot, welcome back. Oh my goodness. Things are just getting fun. Hey, Dot, you've seen Dot, first of all, Dot, how are you? Good to see you. And next question is, well, I'll wait till I get an answer to the first. But take your time, no hurry. Hey, Dot, how you doing? Hey, Dot, have you seen the 30 minutes of video? Oh, awesome. And have you seen the 30 minutes of video about radical collective intelligence up on the Block Party page? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thanks so much, Dot. Okay, so we're all on the same page there.
Jamin, I haven't seen that.
Well, then
on the Block Party.
come back. You'll be right on time with Mark.
Yeah, no. How do I get to it?
Okay, go to radish.org,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll see that beautiful banner that Alice drew
Okay.
top of the homepage that says Collective Intelligence Block Party, and it's got like a hand sketch of what looks like old Chicago or old New York or something, right?
Okay.
Click on that picture. That'll take you to a page that's the Collective Intelligence Block Party page. Dot just pasted the link. I'm kind of old school. And anyway, so you go and you scroll down to the bottom of that page. That's the Block Party page, and there's a link towards the bottom that says 30 minutes of radical collective intelligence.
Okay, I'm going to do that now.
Yeah, and then just come back. You'll be right on time. All right, I'm going to take a little break for a couple of minutes, walk around a little bit, breathe some fresh air, and I'll be right back. But y'all carry on. This is getting good.
You want to play my Greta video, Nolan?
Sure. And welcome, Natalie. Good to have you.
I'll give you the link and you put it in if you want.
Sounds good. All right. Did you want me to start it from the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get it on screen share. Thanks, Dot. I will. All right, here we go. Oh, and let me know, maybe James, give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. I don't think there's audio yet.
Welcome to Nature Bats Last, the website, the blog, where we have the conversation that others are unwilling to participate in.
2030, what do you see at that stage? Will humans start to drop dead because the planet can't sustain them?
I'd be stunned, shocked, and amazed if there were a human being on the planet in 2030.
A single?
Not one.
Really?
If there is a human being on the planet at that point, he or she will be alternatively too hot and too cold, bathing in ionizing radiation from the 450 and change nuclear power plants around the world that melted down. Thirsty, dehydrated, hungry, living in a bunker surrounded by the bodies of like-minded sociopaths.
Humanity is now standing at a crossroads. We must now decide which path we want to take. How do we want the future living conditions for all species to be like? We have gathered here today, and on many other places around London and across the world too. We have gathered today because we have chosen which path we want to take, and now we are waiting for the others to follow our example. I come from Sweden, and back there it's almost the same problem as here, as everywhere, that nothing is being done to stop the climate and ecological crisis, despite all the beautiful words and promises. And we are now facing an existential crisis, the climate crisis and ecological crisis, which have never been treated as crisis before. They have been ignored for decades. And for way too long, the politicians and the people in power have gotten away with not doing anything at all to fight the climate crisis and the ecological crisis. But we will make sure that they will not get away with it any longer. We are the ones making a difference. We, the people in this Extinction Rebellion, and the children school striking for the climate, we are the ones making a difference. It shouldn't be like that, but since no one else is doing anything, we will have to do so. And we will never stop fighting. We will never stop fighting for this planet and for ourselves, our futures, and for the futures of our children and grandchildren. Thank you.
Welcome to Nature Bats Last, the website, the blog, where we have the conversation that others are unwilling to participate in.
2030, what do you see at that stage? Will humans start to drop dead because the planet can't sustain them?
I'd be stunned, shocked, and amazed if there were a human being on the planet in 2030.
A single?
Not one.
Really?
If there is a human being on the planet at that point, he or she will be alternatively too hot and too cold, bathing in ionizing radiation from the 450 and change nuclear power plants around the world that melted down. Thirsty, dehydrated, hungry, living in a bunker surrounded by the bodies of like-minded sociopaths.
I remember when it was wild, wild west of the internet. You could find anything. It was the information superhighway. And I say that the information superhighway is closed. It's down because they have stopped information now. It is not the wild, wild west anymore. And it's actually turning more and more into like China. I studied abroad in China in like 2008. And I remember being shocked when I was out there that you couldn't go on certain websites. You were censored from certain things and certain content. And I just found that extremely, extremely bizarre. And I said, man, look at the crazy commies. You know, I was like, this is communist China. And now here we are, 2019, like a decade later, and we're seeing this, and it's normalized. It's just absolutely shocking. I mean, I don't know what else we're gonna have to do. Go onto the deep web, you know, in order to find real content. But things are disappearing, like you said. You search things nowadays, it's not there anymore.
So they can see they drove me crazy. That they finally knocked me off the deep edge. To the point where I just don't care anymore. I'm gonna go do what I'm gonna do. You can't expect me to go do this with nothing in my pocket. How the fuck is that ever gonna happen? How the fuck is anybody ever gonna do anything without some equipment? I have to beg for everything. We still don't have our cameras. We only got one. We got 2 more people. We got a skipper for the boat, and we got a guide for insects. Because we're trying to do the best we can. But we got nothing. We got a boat, we got equipment, the basics to be safe. That's 30 grand. To go for 90 days into the wild where no one's going to be to help us. Are we supposed to go on a log with a tarp? Woods Hole Oceanographic will have a 600-foot ship and submarines and helicopters and float planes and millions of dollars for a budget. And they won't tell you nothing. They won't show you nothing. They'll talk about tuna, way up the food chain. I'm so upset to the point where I don't even know if I'm going to do comments on my videos anymore. I just can't deal with it anymore. The constant attacks, and that nobody can come out and say, Dana, here. Like me. They can't walk down there, point the camera at themselves, point it down at a tide pool in that 200-kilometer stretch, and show anything different than we did. And because I have almost 14,000 hours in the ocean, that's more than any professor, that's more than any academic, that's more than any scientist in the nuclear industry. In both oceans. Because my entire life was about the ocean. And I got injured. Was that my fault? Was I a bad person because I'm in a wheelchair? Does that make me less of a person? According to Jessica Stevenson and the shops in town here, and all the nuclear apologists, because I'm in a wheelchair, I'm not worthy of having a voice. And they don't have the nerve to make a video and come out and say that, but they have the audacity to make hundreds of accounts to attack me with, and never with any substance, never with any context, never without going down and refuting what I said, but by saying, well, we see whales, because they're further up the food chain. The microbiology of the ocean is the first affected. I just want to punch one of these people so hard. I want to smash him. I really do. I'm sorry, folks. It's August the 25th, 2014. We are supposed to be streaming a few minutes ago, and I was talking, but we weren't streaming, so I just refreshed everything, and I think I'm streaming right now. I'm going to wait for myself to show up and make sure I got audio before I continue on. This is a special broadcast, and the pictures you're looking behind me are homeostasis. You need to look that up yourself so you can understand what the word actually means. Just like everybody else on the planet, they got to look the word up. Every academic who ever heard the word had to learn it, same as me. Every academic that ever went to school and learned about radiation is no different than anybody else or me or anybody else. That's what we do. We go out and we learn the same material. Just because we didn't go to the same school, does that make it different? Does that somehow magically make it because they went to university before we continue on? Okay, we got audio. But because the scientists went to university, they're allowed to say that water and potatoes is like man-made ionized radiation, and that's okay. And that's okay. But for me to come out and tell the truth and say it's not, makes me a bad person. For me to come out and say that a banana got nothing to do with radiation somehow makes me a bad person. Have you got any idea what that actually means? That means the entire society is literally and figuratively stupid. That by me saying it's not a banana is homeostasis and got nothing to do with a chain reaction makes me a liar. That I got people attacking me and saying a banana is equal to man-made radiation. And they can't prove it. There's nobody made a video and come out and call me out like I'm doing it with everybody else. Nobody will stand behind that camera. No media will come out and tell me and everybody else that I'm wrong and the banana got nothing to do with man-made radiation. Not a single person in the media will do that because they can't. Not a single university will come out and tell you, they'll all tell you that. They'll all say, oh, it's banana, it's like a banana, it's like potato chips, it's like water. Everything in the media will tell you that. And that has nothing to do with this. Why do you think that I do what I do? Do you think that this model of just cesium in the first 40 days from just #1 reactor is like bananas? Why are you attacking me when all I'm trying to do is your jobs? Why are people like just trying to destroy me when they can't even walk down to the shoreline and check it themselves? I got Jessica Stevenson here in Powell River, who has done everything in the book to destroy me because she's too stupid to walk down on the shoreline 8 seconds away from her house and look into a tide pool. The whales, the porpoise, the big fish are further up the food chain like humans, you morons. You idiots. What we studied was the filter feeders in the tide pools. They're the most vulnerable. That is the nursery. What you're seeing, do you think that is bananas and potato chips and potassium-40? Because that's what you're doing by attacking me and trying to destroy the only person out there who will go out and take pictures. And if there's life there, I'm going to be a guy that looks like an idiot. Right? And we're going to go, and if there's life, they publish that day on the site. How does that make me a bad person? But if there's no life, that will be published too. And I am not the bad person for taking a picture to find out. How the fuck did I become a bad person? By saying that the man-made radiation is nothing like a banana. That's homeostasis. It's like the autopilot on your car, where it controls the speed of your car. It's like the thermostat in your house. That's what potassium-40. You can't get any more in your body. Your Geiger counter cannot pick up banana potassium-40. Your Geiger counters cannot pick up potassium.
I'm certainly confused about what the end of the video is about. I'm totally lost there, if I'm being honest, but I appreciated that.
Well, Greta has the last word, or Guy has the last word, I think. But it's okay.
Do you could help paint us some context? Yeah, James.
Yeah, Emery, I was getting it up to the start there, like, you know, going into the middle there, I was getting it along there. I just got a little bit of how could I, for lack of better words, I got a slight because I knew where the guy was coming from because I know what he was on about, his research and being out there telling the truth and everything else, and he's been castigated and knocked down for it. And I get that his research, his life's research, he's the only one with the research. I got that point, and everything else is an oceanograph. But I didn't get some of the middle part got a bit confusing and just slight bit disturbing with the child screaming and everything else like that. Like, so I think that threw me a little. But prior to that, you know, the prime message was getting through all right. So I was getting it up until then, but kind of got a little bit slightly confused during the middle part of it. All right. But other than that, excellent. Yeah, it's getting good.
Yeah. What I was saying is in the beginning there, Guy McPherson wasn't really focused on the effects of nuclear incident at Fukushima, you know, and he only later on clued in, you know, to say more about, you know, the nuclear power plants and who's going to you know, deal with all that nuclear meltdowns, you know. So, you know, he's finally admitted that you know, Fukushima itself was a extinction level event, and we have to incorporate that into the situation, you know, the situation that we're in with abrupt climate change has honestly been brought on by the nuclear industry. You know, I mean, it's hard to educate everybody about how that actually happens in the atmosphere, and you know, when these nuclear stations blow up like Chernobyl, it has a great impact on the atmosphere and you know, what's happening with the ice and everything. So it's complicated to explain here, but if you do research on it and you know, slowly you'll discover what it's done. But it hasn't been discussed. It hasn't been, you know, the population hasn't been educated on it, and you know, it's business as usual. Like anyway, I just felt that I had to bring it all together, you know, and Greta says and what he says and what we're doing out there, you know. And I mean, he's come around now. We're trying to incorporate the SRM, and you know, I wish he was a little bit more on board with the fourth bloc party, and I would have expected him to chime in here and there, you know.
Okay, so Dot, thank you for that YouTube video. One of the first name mentioned there is Brian von Hertzen. We need to get him on the block party.
Absolutely.
So who knows Brian von Hertzen, or who knows somebody who knows Brian von Hertzen? Meow. Oh, you're listening on earbuds, right, James? So your cat can't hear me. Okay. Yeah, you could put the earbuds in the cat's ears. That's fine. I just want to say hi to her or him or whatever. Yeah, good. I'd do it. Anyway.
Fred, you're just in time.
Yeah, this is what happens at 2 o'clock in the morning. You guys start talking like cats.
Well, the thing is, James has a cat, and he was kind enough to put the earbud into the cat's ear, and so he made cat sounds. Very seductive.
Well, I actually do start talking like cats at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's a signal for me to curl up in my little bed and sign off the air.
All right.
Perhaps I'll rejoin you for the final hour and see your brain smoking on screen. Good night, everyone.
Love you, Fred.
I love being here.
We love
All
having
right.
you here, Fred. I love giving you shit sometimes. It's so much
And you do it on a regular basis.
The key
We'll
is
have to look into that.
All right.
Okay. Good night, Nolan.
Love you. Love you,
Good night.
Fred. What a party, eh, James? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep this one calm here. She's getting all excited now because
Did she like?
it's like, huh?
Did she like the cat sounds?
Yeah, she was wondering where the sounds were coming from when I put in the earphones, all right. But she gets like this every now and again. She just wants about half an hour of attention off me, and then she'll go off and do her own thing. Like so. She's like, basically just trying to fall all over me now at the moment. Sorry, fine. Carry on anyway.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for letting me say hello to the kitty. All right. Oswald sent you a note. Awesome. Thank you, Dot. I'm checking out the contact page. Okay. And is this where that Brian Vaughn whatever works? Dot. Okay, awesome. Great. Thank you, Dot. Anyway, you know what? At this point, even more than like these well-known writers or bloggers or Joe Rogans or whoever, I'm just interested in really great people, like the people who are already here. You know what I mean? Who needs some dude with attitude? You know? I'm just saying, right? I mean, because it takes something to just jump into the swimming pool, you know, naked on a Saturday night, you know.
It's Friday, by the way.
I know. I was making a metaphor. The pool parties are best on a Saturday because that way you spent the whole day in the pool, and then nighttime you have fun. I speak metaphor. Hey, Mark, did you watch the video?
Yeah, I'm just kind of digesting. I did as you said, right? Skip to different segments of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the challenge was I couldn't figure out because I don't want to dissect myself from the call. So I had both sounds going, trying to decipher between what was live and what was recorded. Yeah.
Well, that must have been fun.
Yeah. All good though. Yes, it was helpful. I now I'm getting out of the pool and going to get a towel because I jumped in naked.
Good. Well, welcome back.
Yeah. So it looks like others have joined, or no? So where were we? Where were you? Where did I arrive back to?
Oh, let me just say hello to Ace in England. Good old Ace. Great to see you, Ace. Welcome. And had you typed something into the chat, Ace? I was away for a few minutes. Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. Anyway, great to see you, Ace. Really good stuff going on here in the chatosphere. And I assume Dylan and Nikki are asleep, except for Nikki, who might still be awake. And Emery's hanging in there. Every couple hours, Emery threatens to go to sleep. It's like 5 a.m. where he is, but then he manages to hang in there. So thanks, Emery. That's the nature of the block party. Anyway, any questions, Mark, about what you saw?
Questions? No, I am somehow very attuned to what you are sharing. And I can honestly say that's because that was just part of the nature that may have come out through my little story of that I was engaged in that world while it was being designed and thought of in the late 70s, and working with the people that were actually developing the technologies. Yeah, so it's an interesting story. I'm going to come back here. It's just fun. I think it's better to is at me singing in the middle of the night. Yeah, this is an interesting story, Nolan and Yaman and whoever else may. You know, it's just a part of your history. It's part of how you all got here, so that we could sit here and do this right now. You know, there was a time in my life, Nolan, where I was in junior college and didn't quite know what I was going to do with myself. And I'd come from the physical world of being able to make things out of metal. And I worked in a machine shop and designed tools to test tools and things that you, for a kid at 16 through 20 to think, oh my gosh, I understand what metal's about, and I can make things out of metal. And I was like, if I can make things out of metal, I can think of anything and make it. That was pretty empowering thought. And then I was wondering what to do with myself, and the movie Jaws came out, and I was really enamored with the shark that they made for the movie Jaws, if you've never seen the original. And I was talking to my dad, and I was like, what should I do? And I was like, I like making things, and I really like the special effects that they're doing now, and maybe I should do something like in movie land, you know, make stuff for that. And so why don't you go check out the theater? That statement and following that path and crossing that threshold completely changed my life. And not necessarily for being on stage, because I wasn't. I was behind the stage. I was helping to produce. And in theater, what I learned is that it's really interesting when you're a designer and you're listening to all the components of what it takes to put on a stage play. And first you have to have the idea of what the play is about, and somebody has to write it, and then it has to have characters, and then people have to live into those characters, and they become that. And you have to have a facade so that an audience believes that those characters are alive in something. Well, goodness gracious, you're like God, you're creating a whole universe, and you're inviting the audience in, and you're controlling the lights and the sound and the whole gig. And when you do that and you get in that place of empowerment, of the control, in essence, of what somebody might be perceiving, that's huge. And to walk through that threshold and do that at like 19, 20 years old, and it was so cool because I had come from this place where I was working with tolerances of plus or minus 0.0001, you know, that if things didn't fit, it was because it was out of tolerance like that. And I arrived in the theater, and he said, the fellow that was running the department with the brand new theater, he said, oh, that's great, you're going to love it here, because if things don't fit, you just get a bigger hammer. I was like, oh, I like that. I like that. A little bit more room, a little bit more margin. But at the same time, this idea that reality is what we make of it, or how we perceive it. And then through the fellow that was running the theater arts department, we actually sat down at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and didn't get up until 3 in the morning. So you can understand why I'm here doing this kind of chatting, because I come from that space of like, yeah, let's go. All right. And so we made best friends. He was good friends with a fellow named Bob Blissmer. Bob Blissmer had just come from producing the World Games with Bucky Fuller in 1976. And I ended up living with Bob and working with him at a company called the Dolphin Farm. And honest to goodness, you never know where life's going to take you. And Nolan, you are on such a journey. I can tell from the smile on your face, because you know it. you're like in flow, and you're like, I get this, because you step into it, and it's like this, there are no words for it. You just know that you're in it. And I had that sense back then. And out of working with Bob and the ideas of Buckminster Fuller that was suddenly brought into my life, and I was so present with, and then sending me off to figure out how to illustrate the electromagnetic spectrum and how to out these ideas that Bucky had that were only tuning into a small part of our universe as I explored, which led to the whole leprechaun epiphany that I shared with you earlier. And this idea of omnidirectional communication. And one of the things that you brought up that was out of the original story when we were trying to figure out what was this gift that we were given, what was this insight, what's this thread that we're a part of, this long standing story that wants to eke itself out. And aside from the metaphysical equation that I shared with you on the video, there was this notion of leprosy. And that was kind of fun. But the idea was that there was missing information. And you talked about that earlier. Nolan, and there was something that perked my ears up. Maybe want to share this with you, because it is kind of what we're going through, and always has been, is like, I'm learning something. Now that means something new to me, and I see something different. And now I learn something new again. And that's that idea that language is a virus. I think it was William Burroughs who coined that. And then Laurie Anderson did an amazing performance piece with it. If you ever get a chance to tune into her, if you haven't. Anyway, that's a little story about a leprosy and the journey that we're all on. And I think while you've called us together, Shaman, and to go into these long journeys, I'm really, I stepped in this because it was a 24-hour event. And as I said, we're headed to this MBW 24 thing in 2021. And so I was like, wait a second. I want to see what happens when you step into a long conversation. So I'm a little late, but I'm here.
No, you're right on time, Mark.
Absolutely.
Everybody's right on time.
Mark, could you share the name again that you shared towards the end of your screen share? You recommended checking someone out. I think it started with an M.
Yeah, sorry. Sometimes when I drop into that space, I'm not sure what I say. You have to give me some context. No, it's good, because I whatever I shared, I want it meant to come out. Yeah, I'm sorry. You'd have to drop me back to give me something to work with to find that. I'm still wandering with where I'm feeling like I've dropped into with you guys here, and then this idea that we live in story, and it's been a long day for me. I actually started today on a 3-hour session of story. Because I've been trying to, actually, this is really curious, Yaman, that as you called them, the lines, the freeways in your drawing, this space, the clouds that you have in the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I've been tuned into for very long. And it's a bit of a cacophony, you know, it's kind of loud when you do that.
What's loud?
When you're attuned to so many different channels.
I've been getting that feeling lately. Very paradoxical feeling.
I was looking for an illustration I had done. It was a signal to noise illustration, but it's not making itself apparent at the moment.
Are you familiar with Rebel Wisdom?
Sure. Listening, tuning in a little bit. What of that comes to mind for you right at this moment?
Well, James has been putting the call out for
Daniel Schmachtenberger and all the folks at Rebel Wisdom to join us on the block party. Join us.
Yeah, I don't know why in this exact moment that came to mind.
All the lily pads are going to have to connect anyway, so let's quit like dancing around and jockeying around and pretending, figuring out who's above who else on the totem pole. Let's just scrap all that shit and just meet at the damn block party. I mean, it's that simple. Hello. Duh. No, I'm cooler than you. Well, okay, great. So let's let mom die while you're cooler than us. Great. No. Let's meet up, figure this shit out, cool the planet, stop the carnage, stop the decimation, stop the extinction, and transform everything to the, you know, utopia or whatever you want to call it. I don't want to get mixed up in words. You say utopian, I get a 2-hour diatribe from somebody. That's not what I want. You know what I mean? Let's use Charles's words. That more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. How about that? Could you go with that?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. The idea of, on the one hand, the language is so important, and on the other, we want to throw it out and say, I can't, you know, and because we are stuck in this place, and I think that's part of what humanity has been on the quest of doing is learning to connect with each other in this very deep way, right? And and yet we've wandered apart from each other. And now here, you and I, we could do this, but are we still really connected? I don't know. We're stumbling and we're feeling apart from each other, and there's something that's pulling us and saying, there's, you know, don't let it go. There's something there. You want to hold on to it. And you guys keep pulling on those threads. Yeah, you've been called to do it. I'm here to encourage that. I can sense it in your passion for stumbling for the words and trying to find the right ones. You've put a lot forth in so far, the documents, the videos, so they are important to you. And the language that's being created now is important. It is what we live into if we are always speaking of a dystopia, which I think is what you're concerned about, which is what the media is pretty much, and what the box that we've been placed into with the perception screens around us is. It's all doom and gloom. And yes, maybe the science is telling us something that we need to pay attention to. The earth is telling us something. Our neighbors are telling us something. But goodness gracious, there is also something that we all sense. And that's what I find curious about the words of that particular sentence, the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible, is because people tune into that. They haven't read the book or anything. It just means something to them. And everybody goes, oh yeah, there's something in that for me. And I don't know how it translates into other languages. And that's the other thing that we have to deal with, you know, but when something triggers or pulls on that heartstring and it means something and you just grasp it, maybe for a fleeting moment, but once that's happened, you'll never forget it. Actually, it will resonate through you forever. And the question is, how do you let that? How do you encourage it, right? I don't know. I'm just babbling. But, I'm trying to wake you guys up. I know you've been going at it for a long time. I'm seeing where I could take us a little bit, you know.
No, totally tracking. Loving it. Let's mix it up a bit and just hear from everybody, no matter how tired you are, whether typing or spoken or whatever, or images or anything like that. Oh yeah, I did want to show you all something. This will help jog it a bit. So the first thing I want to point out is that we already have a platform, okay? And that's actually really significant, okay? What is the platform? As I was mentioning to Fred earlier, combination of email and Zoom and a little bit of HTML website thrown in there for good measure. We're already using the combination of those three things as this platform. This is our platform. This is our rickety little homemade, you know, neighborhood go-kart, right? Where the right rear wheel keeps falling off, right? But you know what? You can, you know, fix that and take it down the hill. All right. And there's a Chinese saying that it takes an axe to make another axe, like a better axe, right? And it's in very much that spirit that I want to share the following, okay? So I'm going to show a few slides. It'll only take about a minute or a minute and a half. But before I do, I just want to point out that the platform part, which you're going to see as this blue rectangle, okay? The platform represents both the software, okay, inclusive of all of the web services that it upcycles and whatever connective tissue. And the connective tissue in our case literally means we go into Zoom, we create a meeting, we get the link, paste it up on Radish, you know, paste it into an email and send it to a couple hundred people and paste it on Facebook. I mean, like, that's it. We're upcycling 4 different web services in the process. Right, it's so simple. And not a line of code needed to be written, right? Not a single line of code. That's our, so this is our starter platform. Where is it? You're looking at it, you're using it, you're speaking to it, okay? So with that as the beginning, now let me show you the images. Okay. The evolution of radical collective intelligence. So it starts with the platform. This blue rectangle is it represents a platform for radical collective intelligence. Upon that platform grows an actual collective intelligence, represented by this image of a brain. And the more people who join, the more that grows, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and it keeps on growing, and it actually doesn't stop growing. But at some point, its growth, just like a potted plant, where the plant outgrows the pot, the growth is now constrained by the platform, right? Well, guess what? At that point, the collective intelligence is so darn big, okay, that it's able to very quickly design and build, drum roll, the next generation of the platform for radical collective intelligence, which in turn can support a much greater collective intelligence, which can now get out there and do all kinds of amazing things, build all kinds of solutions related to SRM, cleaning up and deacidifying the oceans, right, restoring habitat, yada, yada. Oh, and by the way, among many other things, it will, drum roll, design and build the next generation of the platform for radical collective intelligence, which can support a much greater collective intelligence. Since the vast majority of this innovation is in software, right? There is absolutely no reason that this exponential cannot continue indefinitely, with shorter and shorter cycle times and more amazing leaps. And this goes not just for software, but for hardware. Virtual reality, augmented reality, whatever happened to Magic Leap, I don't know who's leading the pack these days, whatever, it doesn't matter. Throw some badass collective superintelligence onto that, and the thing's gonna explode. Coronavirus got you down? Let's throw collective superintelligence at it. Put that thing to bed already. It's kept us up half the night. Going on mute.
I can't help myself. I'm hoping somebody else is going to jump in. But I just feel pulled to. It's like, so as I said, I've been watching this, and I feel like this has been an ongoing movement, and this ability is to have this collective intelligence. Is being searched out on many fronts. And it's interesting because I've found myself in the tribe of it will happen because of the technology. And I've found myself in the tribe of it will happen without the technology. And
this is the secret love child between those two.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because, you know, somebody said to me, and I never heard this little. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. So they said, you know, the light bulb was invented by firelight, but candlelight. The light bulb was invented by candlelight.
That's the Chinese saying, it takes an axe to build another axe. They had to do that work indoors in a closed environment. They needed to work long hours, long experiments. They needed candlelight or kerosene light.
Yeah, because it didn't exist yet.
Axe.
Yeah, it didn't exist yet. Yeah, so, but this is the story. It is all of these different stories, you know, and I actually think there's something in the notion of it's actually the technology, arriving at the technology was the act of technique, right? And we're a verb, so we're about being. And the act of technique got manifest in things, what we call our technologies. But the technique that we're really striving for is that total connectedness, hence networking and what we're trying to accomplish. Seems to be some of the story that's at least finding its way out of my sensibilities.
Yeah, no,
anybody want to carry that story on?
Pardon me?
I was just saying, carry the story on.
Yeah. Well,
your perspective.
It's really exciting to recognize that you're on the rocket and the rocket is taking off, right? And it's finally happening now after so many decades, right? And, but, you know, not a moment too soon, certainly. And it's almost too late. So it's like, it's just at that perfect moment when we have the urgency, the necessity, which is the mother of all invention. And that's what's going to...
Aren't we always at that perfect moment?
Well, I just know we're there now. I don't know if we've ever been there before. I don't know if we'll ever be here again. I don't know if we'll be alive in 6 months if we keep messing around, dilly-dallying. So we're definitely there now. And the urgency, the life or death urgency, is what's going to get people off their damn pedestals and into the bleeping block party. To at least dip their toe in the water and see if they like it. And if they're too cool for school, okay, fine, go away, go write another book. You're right. And you know what? The ones who are too cool for school, we don't want them anyway, like we talked about a few minutes ago. I'm not sure if that was before you and I started talking again, Mark. But, you know, screw it. Right? We need more people like us. So let's not worry so much about the big names, though I do like that Brian Van whatever dude with the ocean permaculture. That's super cool. Let's get him in here. Folks like him and Dr. Yatow, these are technicians, more than technicians. They're experts in very technical fields. We need those folks. We need Guy McPherson, the great McPherson synthesis, the great McPherson paradox. We need all that stuff here, right? So the ones who don't show up are really the ones who don't have that much to offer anyway and don't necessarily want to be exposed as such. So competent folks who care and are compassionate and courageous and pioneering, come. We need you now. Everyone else, we'll get to you.
Okay, so I'm trying to tune into what your ask is, what you're, yeah, and it's you're inviting, you're in a stage of inviting others in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We need to get to 10,000 strong as quickly as possible, because then we can have, hundreds of lanes in the superhighway of conversations. Because that's when.
Well, they are. That's the interesting thing. That is going on in the world, on the internet right now. That's why it's so active. There are these hundreds of thousands of lanes. It's like it's going on. Like, ah.
Well, it's fascinating. That's part of the current platform. Actually, the fact that these conversations are ongoing, but they're not integrated in the form of the 30 minutes of video. Okay. That you just saw, or maybe half saw because you were splitting your attention. I would really recommend at some point, whenever it's comfortable for you, you'd spend another 30 minutes.
I was right there with it. I'm
Okay.
right there with you. I got it.
Fair enough. In that case, look, what's missing is that we all come together and that we recognize each other and that we have the agility. So look, I imagine, I've said this many times. I'm going to say it again right now. I love everything about Daniel Schmachtenberger except one thing. I can't talk with him. That barrier, okay, is like the barrier between Brooklyn and Manhattan. The longest distance in the world is the distance between Brooklyn and Manhattan, right? Bad metaphor, but look, it seems like it's a short distance. But the fact that we're not in the same block, right? We're disconnected. The wire has been cut, right? So look, all this fancy talk about, it doesn't exist. Until it's connected, it doesn't exist. It's all about connection.
Yeah, but because you don't have that connection at this moment, and you're asking for that, and you're putting it out there, the energy, and you're inviting it to come to you. That sometimes may take time, right? And there's a festina lente. Have you ever heard of festina lente? Make haste slowly. Okay, and I understand we're at a critical place on the planet, and everybody thinks, we have to act now. And actually, I found out about this notion of festina lente when I asked Michael Meade about this sense of urgency that we all have.
It's 2:22, by the way, Mark.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. So we're at the.
It was just 1:11, right?
It's an hour and 11 minutes after 1:11. So it's 1:11 plus 1:11 equals 2:22. That's where we're at.
And next it'll be 3:33.
And 4:44 and 5:55, which point we get close to the countdown to 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern. Charles will be up. Bat him in.
So here's what I want to point out. Here's an invitation to you and your crew. Do you see what I put in there? Now What 2020? Have you heard of Now What? So that's a 6-week gathering where there's the opportunity for many people like yourselves who are asking some of the very same questions and wanting to collaborate and share what they've got to find others that can help them and tune into and weave together. And actually, we'll be presenting and outing, so to speak, the More Beautiful World project there. And there's an opportunity to present and share and invite others to what you're doing and weave through that. That's exactly what that platform is for. So there's another platform, similar intent.
I'm in. Is it all virtual?
Well, yeah. Some things, I think Ben Roberts, who's running it, he's going to be in London during the month of April while this is going on. So he comes out of the Occupy Wall Street movement, early 2010, of actually gathering people together But Ben, over the last 10 years, has learned a lot about bringing community together over these different technologies. He knows a lot of the different tech, Zoom is similar thing. Mixing the existing platforms for the value that they bring and coming up with, the communities and just saying, here's a place to share. Last year, they got the title, when they first started, it was Now What. This year, there's more intent with engagement streams instead of so much questioning as they did last year. And so this year, projects like what I'm working on and other projects like yourselves could present and share what you got going on.
Yeah, totally. So, but here's the thing: regardless of whether we do it at Now What or whether we do it here at the Block Party, the it remains the same. We need to convene intelligence, which is the secret love child between humans coming together, us, and the appropriate technology. Most 99% of which is already built out. 99.9. All this needed is minimal connective tissue. It's 99.9999. I mean, think of all the decades of hard work, put in at Google and Twitter and Reddit, and I mean, these things are near perfect components, right? You ever held and I know you know this better than anyone, Mark. Listen to this. I was about to say, and then I forgot who I was talking to, but I say this to everyone. When you hold in your hands a precision engineered stainless steel automobile part, and you just hold it and you just love it. You don't even necessarily know what the hell it does, but you just love it. It's like, what a great component. And you say, you know what, this car could fail in thousands of different ways, but this ain't one of them. This is not the O-ring that brought down the Challenger, okay? All right. There's all these freaking beautifully precision engineered stainless steel that will not fail. They're ready to go. They've been perfected over decades now. How many decades of internet revolution do we need until we finally get it right? Now is the moment. We've got the formula. We've got all the components, none of which will fail. All we got to do is snap them together. It's that simple. Community plus that software. The software already exists. We just need to assemble it, right? That's the formula. If you can prove us wrong, come here to the Block Party. Prove us wrong. We will shut down the Block Party and follow you.
I don't think that's the point. For example, my invitation wasn't to come and do the Block Party, and the Block Party doesn't do this, and now you're doing Now What. No, the opportunity is just to weave together and say, hey, we got a Block Party going on over here. Come and play over here, and we'll come and play over here, and we'll mingle and cheers and but it's not a competitive. I don't see it as a competitive thing at all.
Nor do I. All I'm saying is we've got to recognize what the it is. And the it is collective superintelligence, because that's going to crank out everything else that we need. That's the eye of the needle through which the camel needs to pass. And we found the passage. We finally found it. So let's walk the damn camel through the damn passage to the other side. That's all there is to it. I mean, there's nothing else to say. No, but here's the thing. Yes, we need to bring in all these people. I appreciate what you're saying, but I kind of feel like there's this, I'm just trying to get everyone to see what I see, which is not always an easy thing to do, but I'm going to keep trying. We've got the formula. We just need to round up more people. So I'll go there and round up more people and bring them here. And let's build up the collective superintelligence together. See, that event, what's that event called again? The one you
Now What?
Now What? See, Now What is great for what it's great for. The Block Party is great for building out collective superintelligence, because that's what it was designed for.
Okay, and so and like I said, I'm just trying to understand what the right now you're in this phase of inviting, and welcoming.
Right now, we are in this phase of inviting. It's as simple as that. Invite everybody you know who's dialed in, who's creative, who can get it. You know, your Auntie Flo, who's a climate change denier, she's not the best person to invite to this. Right? Not yet. We'll get there. But we may be 1 or 2 platforms away from making this totally anti-flow friendly. But your buddy from college or from working in, you know, special effects or machine, whatever, you know the people. Everybody knows the people. So bring them. Just say, listen, try it out. It won't cost you a penny. You don't have to sign up for anything. Just click on a damn link and hang with us for a little bit. See what you think. We'll have a great schedule for next week and the week after that. We got 2 block parties before Now What? Right?
Oh, are you doing? So you have agendas? Actually, I didn't catch that.
Yeah. So you go to radish.org, the homepage. You click on the banner that says Collective Intelligence Block Party, and that takes you to the Collective Intelligence Block Party page, where you see the agenda.
Where am I? Say that again. I'm on home.
Okay, so are you at radish.org homepage?
Wait, I think I'm in conversations. Hold on. Yeah, I'm somehow in your conversations area. Okay, radish.org. Got it.
Homepage, right?
Yeah.
You see the big
Block
banner
party.
at the top? It's got like an artwork that says Collective Intelligence Block. Just click on that.
Oh, more info on the block party. Yeah.
Just click on that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There it is.
That's where the agenda, the links, everything. It's all.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we'll have an agenda for next week that'll be really cool. And, you know, just tell your friends, look, check out the agenda, plug in whenever and wherever you want. It's a conversation. Check it out. I think it might be a vital conversation. I'm not sure, but I think it might be a vital conversation. And I think it might be really important that you check it out. It's 20 minutes, right? Guaranteed you'll love it or your money back. Double your money back. No, and if it's someone you really want there, tell them 20 minutes. And if you're not delighted that you came, Jamin will PayPal you $100. But they'll be delighted they came. If they take the $100, they can't come back. They can't lose. It's no risk. Hey, James, are you still there? You look kind of frozen. Okay, I see you. Thanks.
I see Dot sent a link, and do we know Dot? I don't know Dot. Do you know Dot?
Oh, I know Dot.
Dot there.
He's awesome. Yeah.
Where's Dot? Where's Dot chiming in from?
from dot wherever she wants. You know, like .org, .com. It's dot wherever she. I think she's at the snack bar at the moment, actually.
Oh, Milky Way.
Yeah.
I told you she's getting the Milky Way at the snack bar. The snack bar, it's SNAC, not SNK. So drop the K. And it's an acronym for the Social Network of Actual Conversations, which is what we're doing right here, right now. This is the beginning of the Social Network of Actual Conversations.
Sorry about that there, Chairman. I was the earphones plugged up, but I could still hear everything. I was actually chatting to my friend Natalie. She's been tuned in there since this morning, but I was just trying to get her to come on and video chat as well with us, and so that she can encourage those that she knows to come on and join us as well here. Like she said, she's going off to get herself a little bit more presentable. She will join us there.
Sure.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I mean, I'm like, Dot, for example, communicates the way she prefers, which is via text, and I just love it. Let everyone come and connect however they wish. In fact, look, the ultimate mashup here is a mashup between Zoom and Reddit and Twitter and Facebook and Wikipedia and a whole bunch of other web services. So, but just consider the mashup between Zoom and Reddit, okay? Consider it like a dialectic. Once a week, we meet and we talk. And then we actually have another very important check-in on Tuesdays. 11 a.m. Pacific Time, Solution Club at the beginning of the new world. But in between those two weekly meetings, which are totally synchronous because we're talking with each other, in between those, we meet on Reddit. And let's say there's 1 million conversations happening on Zoom. Well, there'll be 1 million subreddits or whatever, Reddit,
Threads.
Threads, thank you. And, a thread each. Or let's say for the block party, we might have opened up, 352 different threads. Well, there'll be 352 different threads on Reddit to follow up on those. And then we asynchronously communicate on Reddit, co-create, etc. And then we meet back here, boom, having done all that. So it's digestion and interaction, right?
By the way, earlier, I think it was Jeff who was on earlier. He went and set up something for you, Collective Intelligence in Ring Central, right? So you're all set up in there now. He welcomed us. Remember you asked for emails? I don't know. Nolan, do you show up in there yet?
I have not messed around with Ring Central at all.
Okay. It looks like he's inviting people through this into that. So it's provided a space. Oh, he put in the Buckminster Fuller Institute link. So that just looks like a chat thread that you have that you can use as part of your tool set now.